News week. Oh yeah, we do have something happening here in a couple of days. It's called the presidential election. Yeah, that's right. That is coming up here. Welcome to the program. You can be watching, listening on the Occupy Democrats Network, the Washington Press Network, on my personal YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. We're also on X. We're on Twitch. My personal website, pushingthelimits.live, and of course the local AM FM radio station, KSHP. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got a lot to get to today, including Donald Trump talking about Liz Cheney saying, let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting. Interesting for a former president to make a statement like that. We will get to that. But as you know, anybody that listens to this show will know that I interview all sorts of different people on the political spectrum, on the left, on the right, everywhere in between. Sometimes people that have worked for Donald Trump, all sorts of different people, and people that are currently working for Donald Trump. We have surrogates on this show all the time. And I wanted to start off the show right off the bat because the gentleman that is joining me in the studio, he's nice enough to be here because he knows that we're probably going to disagree on Donald Trump. But that's okay. I respect anybody that comes in the studio that's for another conversation. So I will say this right off the bat. He's an extremely talented artist. And he's also a former Air Force veteran, which I have a ton of respect for. His name is Keith Tomzik. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. And Keith is an artist and was the official artist for President Donald Trump in his 2020 presidential campaign. And Keith, even though he knows that, like I said, we'll probably disagree on Donald Trump, he's nice enough to be here and have a conversation. And I really do appreciate that. Keith, thank you so much for being here. It's good to see you. How are you?
Fine, good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. First of all, let me get this out of the way. You are a really talented artist. Like you're sending me all these images of political figures, some positive on people, some not so positive. But that out of the way, you're like a really good artist. And I would imagine to be anybody's, presidential campaign artist, you have to be pretty good at what you do. Right? Don't be afraid to talk into that mic. Oh, there you go. Yeah. How did you link up with Donald Trump? And how did you get a chance to meet this artist?
Oh, it's crazy. Okay. Maybe 9 years ago. Anyway, so I would draw. I draw big. So I don't think anyone ever. You know what I'm saying? It's not an easy job. Right. So I was talking to my wife. It's crazy. I started making. I was like, if you ever take like a Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis and draw him into a Marvel comic book, maybe that's cool. No one's ever done that before.
Right,
really,
right.
Still really haven't done it. So
now we see Trump Superman stuff everywhere.
Well, yeah. Everybody took my ideas. I'll get into that later, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
So I just started drawing GOP guys to make them look cool. That was it. I mean, that was
And then somebody in the Trump campaign saw it.
It started picking up traction on social media. I was just drawing nonstop. I was drawing Trump. I was drawing all kinds of people. I was mainly focusing on Trump. And by the way, I didn't even start. Trump wasn't my first candidate. I was a Scott Walker guy originally.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I remember him.
yeah. I mean, he was great though too. Scott was great. He actually met my daughter Reagan when he was running for.
How many kids do you have? By the way?
I have one child.
You have one child. How old?
9.
9-year-old.
Yeah.
Happily married man.
Yes.
So you're a regular family man, good family man. You serve the country, which, by the way, thank you for your service. I respect that very much. You just seem like an all-around nice guy. Yeah. And even talking to you on Twitter, I'm like, wow, this guy's really a nice guy. He doesn't seem like a lunatic like some of the people that I talk to.
Today's my wedding anniversary too, and I'm married.
Well, congratulations on that. All right, I have to ask you this to start.
Yes, sir.
And by the way, congratulations on that. That's quite an accomplishment, not just your anniversary, but to be an artist. It doesn't matter whether I agree or disagree with the president. Sure. To get that position is very cool, and that's a cool accomplishment.
I remember where I was when I got the call. I was actually meeting with Congressman Dan Crenshaw in Houston. Mm-hmm. We flew out there. I drew him, and I presented it to Crenshaw, and we decided Dan's great, but he's taking some hits here and there. I thought his profile would be a little bit higher right now, but it is what it is. But I remember I just presented to Dan, and we talked, and I went into the back room, and I got a call. It was a Trump campaign. I thought they were effing with me. I was like, what? They're like, how would you
That's super cool.
Yeah, they're like, how would you like to come draw for the president? I was like,
I said, it doesn't matter whether you agree or disagree politically. That's a cool accomplishment.
Yes.
If Joe Biden had given you the call, would you have done the same thing?
No.
Really?
I would not. I know.
You dislike Joe Biden that much that you would not have been his artist?
I have a disdain for Mr. Biden.
All right. Well, we'll get into that. All right. But let me ask you this. Like I said, and I mean this sincerely, I just met you, but
Appreciate
you seem like a nice guy, and you serve the country, and you're a family man.
Yeah.
Why is it that you have such staunch support for Donald Trump? What is it about him that you're all in with him?
Well, that's kind of I'm trying to think of like before I worked for him and like prior to working for him. You know what I'm saying? It's like two different things there.
Well, I could be more specific if you want me to.
Go ahead.
Is that better for you?
I
Okay.
appreciate that.
All right. Because you knew we were going to get into this conversation, but when you talk about 5 kids with 3 different women and the liable sexual abuse and the 34 count felonies, you're someone who served this country honorably, risked your life for this country, which I will always have the utmost respect for. I'm not a big Ron DeSantis guy, but I will always respect his service. Same thing with JD Vance. Whether you believe he said the suckers or losers comment or not, we know what he said about John McCain. He doesn't respect John McCain because he was captured.
I'm not a McCain fan either.
Well, not being a fan is one thing. Okay.
Yeah.
If you disagree with somebody politically, and I'm assuming that's what you mean, then that's fine. I think that's a fair conversation to have, but that's not what he said. He said he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured. So let me start there. As someone like you who's brave, who served this country, how do you support somebody who craps on our military and makes those kinds of statements?
Well, I know what the economy was under him. I know what the border was under him. So
if the economy's okay, it's okay to crap on our military?
I didn't. No, I didn't say
well,
that.
the only reason why I say this is because when I asked you, the first thing you said was positives about the economy. And we'll talk about that.
Sure.
I want to give you an opportunity. But forget about the economy and policy for a moment. Let's just talk about the behavior. I don't respect him because he was captured. 5-star generals that say he called people like you suckers and losers. He dodged the military multiple times. Forget about policy for a moment. How do you support that?
Well, the suckers and losers thing, that was debunked by many people who were actually there. And I know that for a fact.
So you think General Milley and John Kelly and they're all the 5-star generals, they're lying?
I think they were disgruntled employees who got fired and came out saying bad things about him. That's what I think.
So you think they just made that up?
Made up? I don't know about made. No, I think they distorted. I don't think Trump said it. I know for a fact. I know how he feels about the military.
So if he feels that way, then why did he say he doesn't respect John McCain because he was captured?
I will bet you $100, Brian. Again, when the votes are cast, because all the military people vote, Trump will get 60 to 7% of the military vote.
Okay, maybe. I don't know.
He only got it last time.
You might be right, but that doesn't take away the things he said on the record. The fact that he dodged the military.
That's not on the record, though.
John McCain isn't on the record?
Well, the John McCain thing was, everything he says, do I agree with? Of course not. I'd be an idiot. I'd be a fool.
Right.
No, but there is the old saying. I mean, I love the man, but there is the old saying, like the message, hate the messenger. That's all. I mean, some people see him just that way.
What is the message? Because all I hear is retribution, and all I hear at MSG the other day is, calling Kamala stupid, rhetoric on the far right saying she slept her way to the top. I don't hear really about a plan about the future except for like deporting 20 million illegals. I hear that. Let me ask you another question.
Yes, sir.
And I know we're kind of all over the place here. And I want to get your criticisms on Joe Biden. I absolutely want to get your criticisms on Democrats.
I don't want to get in the mud, though, about that, though,
no,
Brian.
I'm not
there. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. I hear you.
I respect Democrats. I respect all Americans.
And I appreciate that. But Donald Trump doesn't. And that's my issue with him. If you have a disagreement on policy, I think it's great as Americans. We have those conversations like we will have. But I don't think it's good when you talk about 9 barrels pointing at Liz Cheney, which is what Donald Trump said yesterday. I don't think it's good when you make up a story about dogs and they're eating dogs and cats in Springfield, Ohio. We can talk about immigration. Let's talk about our differences. Let's figure out. I think that's very fair. You seem like a reasonable guy, but making up a story like that.
I believe Congressman ex-Congressman John Walsh, who hates Trump as much as you do. I believe he even came out about the Liz Cheney story and said that's not what he said. So, I mean,
well, I'll give you the direct quote.
I watched the video. Okay. So, I mean, we can just disagree on that. That's all. He did not mean for her to be executed.
Then why would he say something like that?
Did you watch the whole video, though?
I did.
Okay.
His quote is, "Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her." Okay.
Yeah, but there was information before that quote and information after that.
But what information before or after would make that saying that okay?
I would just direct everyone to watch the video because I'll let them interpret it. I'm not going to do
okay. All right. I just think under any circumstances and under any context, those are despicable comments that can incite violence.
I will say though, Brian, have you ever had a bad boss before?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
We probably all had a bad boss, right? Or some you didn't agree with.
I can't recall having any bosses that told me that I should stand in front of 9 barrels, people shooting at me, though.
Well, he did not imply for her to be executed. I just won't believe that.
Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her. Okay? Question mark. That's a direct quote.
But okay, that's a direct quote. But you're not saying
she's a radical war hawk. Okay, I'll give you the whole paragraph. She's a radical war hawk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's fine.
That's true.
Okay, that's fine. After that sentence, he says, let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? And then he goes on to say, let's see how she feels about it, when the guns are trained on her face.
Well, actually,
that's a direct quote.
I understand what he said, but I'm actually laughing at the fact that Democrats have Liz Cheney out there with them. That in itself is hilarious to me.
Well, I mean, you have
demonized her dad for how many years? They called him everything under the sun, the Cheneys, and now they have Liz.
What does that say about Donald Trump? That a former vice president and Liz Cheney and basically half of his administration, including 5-star generals, are not only not supporting Donald Trump, but many of them are endorsing Kamala Harris. His own vice president won't be voting for him. Does that concern you at all?
I don't care about Mike Pence.
How about half of his administration?
Yeah, but the other half is. He has like 500 people that still work for him, including myself, who will be voting for him. So,
right.
And I consider myself an honorable man. I know a lot of the people who actually work for him. They're all honorable as well. So, I mean.
Would you consider some of the people that are not voting him honorable, or are they all dishonorable? Because
I would not put them in any box. That's their decision. That's their choice.
Okay.
I just know I worked for Brad Parscale, who was his campaign manager. Brad found me, discovered me. It was the greatest thrill of my life working for Mr. Trump. He was a great man. He took care of us. Even after the election, when we lost, he still kept us on payroll till March. I was still getting paid till March till then. So he looked out for. There's a lot of little things that people don't know, you don't hear about. You only see you only hear about all the bad, and that's the part that kind of gets me sometimes. Like, really? So
well, I think it's important to cover both, right? And this is just from my perspective.
Sure.
I don't think we should have anybody in power that says that they call Americans the enemy within, like Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi. By the way, I'm not a Nancy Pelosi fan. Okay.
How did she become a millionaire, by the way?
Well, listen, if you're concerned about Nancy Pelosi becoming a millionaire, then you should be concerned about Jared Kushner getting $2.1 billion from the Saudis. You should be concerned about Ivanka Trump making $600 million from the Chinese government in trademarks.
But that was all legal, though. That was all legal.
Well, if but you don't have a problem with that, though? $2.1 billion from the Saudis when he's working for Donald Trump?
Well,
I bet you have a problem with Hunter Biden.
Well,
you have a problem with Burisma.
Well, no, Brian, I'm not going to get into specifics. I don't know the full story.
Right.
Okay, so I'm not going to comment.
Right, but the only reason why I said that, Keith, with respect, is because you had a problem, you said, with Nancy Pelosi becoming a millionaire. As far as I know, I don't think she did anything illegal. There weren't any charges filed. But then when I bring up Jared Kushner making $2.1 billion in the administration, why is it you don't want to talk about that?
Well, I'll say Pelosi made better stock calls than Warren Buffett. She had a better winning percentage on stocks than Warren Buffett.
Okay.
Why is that?
Well, if you're
know the answer.
If you're insinuating that she might have cheated to make money with then what I would need is some evidence to prove it, right? You might be right. You might be right. I don't know. But what we do know is that Donald Trump's daughter made $600 million from the Chinese government in trademarks. What we do know is that Jared Kushner, by the way, these people were working in Trump's administration, made $2.1 billion from the Saudis. What we do know is Donald Trump made hundreds of millions of dollars from donations.
Yeah, but Mr. Trump lost money in office.
I don't
He did.
see how you come to that conclusion.
No, his net worth went down when he was in office.
Most people that have been looking at his net worth said that he's made bundles of money,
recently,
hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in donations, saying he was going to fight voter fraud, and he only used about $4 or $5 million of that for voter integrity, voter fraud, and he kept 80% of the rest.
Well, I would just direct everyone to his net worth went down while he was in the White House. That's just factual.
Are you comfortable with him selling Bibles for $60 and making them in China for $3? Does that make you comfortable if we're talking about money?
Honestly, it doesn't. One way or the other.
That's okay.
I'm more concerned about grocery prices,
okay,
gas prices.
Fair enough. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's give you.
Fair enough.
I don't like to get like worked up over every little thing.
Yeah, I don't think, Keith, it's a little thing when you threaten politicians. I don't think it's a little thing when you call people like me the enemy from within. I don't think it's a little thing when we saw what happened on January 6th when he still lies about the 2020 election. Do you think he won the 2020 election?
I don't want to get into it.
You can't definitively say yes or no?
Yeah, how about that? Are you going to ask me, do I think Joe Biden got 81 million votes? I don't. I think there were some shenanigans going down in Georgia and some other places.
Then why weren't they able to prove it? Why was there no evidence to prove of widespread voter fraud that could have changed the outcome? Because if there was, then I'd be on your side.
I agree. But going back to Kushner and Ivanka, because they've been going after Trump obviously for everything. If something illegal had gone down, they would have found it. They would have found.
I'm not saying it was illegal.
Yeah.
I never used that term. I'm just saying.
You're right. You didn't.
I'm not saying it's illegal. And by the way, I'm not saying what Hunter Biden did was illegal either. But I think the definitive difference is they were working in Donald Trump's administration. But I want to, like you said, you want to talk about policy. I think that's a fair conversation to have. All I'm simply saying.
I'm not an expert in policy. I can only tell you how I feel.
Totally get it. Totally get it. But and this is just my opinion. This is how I vote, right? We all vote differently, right? You vote differently, I vote differently, and that's fine. We're all Americans. We all have the right to vote where we want.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not trying to change your mind, and you're not coming here trying to change my mind. That wasn't my intention.
No, sir.
But and I know I'm not going to. but I for leadership, I want someone who's a decent human being. And when I look at Kamala Harris, and this is where we could probably get into policy too. I look at her as a decent human being, someone who worked hard in her life to get to where she is. She's a good family person. She's never been charged with a crime or convicted of a crime. She seems like she has a really nice family. Sure. Even the actual mother of her, the biological mother of her children, has nothing but nice things to say about Kamala Harris. She just seems like a nice human being, and I don't like the attacks on Donald Trump, many attacks, calling her stupid. And I'm like, there's no way this woman is stupid. Look at what she's accomplished in her life. And I just think to be a leader, whether you're a basketball coach or a baseball coach, by the way, congratulations to your Dodgers, by the way.
I'm still basking that victory. I apologize.
They made me some money. No, don't apologize. They made me some money.
I've been a Dodger fan for
But you have a leader of your organization, the manager, who's a leader. And when I think of the word leadership, I want somebody who has a moral compass. I want somebody who is a decent human being and moving forward, right? And I see what happened at MSG the other day.
What was wrong with that with MSG?
Sure. I'm glad you asked.
You're Jewish, right? There
absolutely.
were Jewish flags all over the place.
I didn't see Jewish. I didn't know there was a Jewish flag. You mean an Israeli flag?
Yeah,
okay.
I apologize.
That's okay. But that's okay. I'll tell you.
All over the place.
Well, when you make jokes at a political rally, not a comedy
Trump
club.
didn't say it though. That bad.
Okay, but here's
and it was a bad joke.
I agree.
Wrong. I thought it was horrible.
So let me ask you.
Wasn't even funny.
I agree. So you said Trump didn't say it. You're right. He didn't.
Nope.
But
Trump wasn't even there. He showed up 4 hours later.
But here's something else he didn't do. He didn't denounce it. And he had the podium that night.
He wasn't Hannity just 2 days ago saying he had nothing to do with it. He didn't know the guy.
Right. But instead of saying I had nothing to do with it, and by the way, his campaign did, because not only did they hire him to speak, but they put in his jokes in the teleprompter. So his campaign did. But let's just say 100% you're right.
Trump why was it okay for George Lopez the exact same day talk about Mexican stealing? That was okay, though.
I'll get to that.
Right?
I'll happily answer your question, and I'll get to that.
I apologize.
No.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No need to apologize. And I'll gladly answer your question. Trump, that night when he spoke on that stage, could have denounced those statements and said, hey, I don't support that. And by the way, it wasn't just one joke. It was comments that Rudy Giuliani made. It was another comment that a man made about a black man and watermelon. There were a lot of insulting comments that were made.
I apologize. I didn't hear.
That's okay. I wouldn't make it up.
Okay. No, I'm not saying.
I hear you. I hear you. And there were a lot of people that were offended by that, whether you agree with that or not. A lot of people were offended. And by the way, private comedy club, people should be allowed to say whatever the hell they want. But at a political rally, I find it to be insulting and inappropriate. Trump had an opportunity on that stage to denounce it. And I guarantee you, Keith, in my opinion, if Kamala Harris is holding a rally, and let's just say they made a blunder, which they haven't, but let's just say George Lopez was hired at one of her rallies. By the way, that wasn't a Kamala Harris rally that you were speaking of, but let's just say George Lopez was hired at a Kamala Harris rally.
Sure.
And he called Puerto Rico trash or garbage or crap. I guarantee you Kamala Harris, while taking the stage that day, would denounce it immediately. And not only does Donald Trump...
She hasn't come out and denounced Mark Cuban yet. What are you talking about?
What did Mark Cuban say that was racist or bigoted in nature?
He put down half of the women in the country, saying all the women around Trump are weak and stupid.
Well,
he literally said that. She still hasn't come out and denounced it yet.
He didn't call all the people around.
He called the women
stupid.
Around Trump.
Didn't call them
and I know a lot of those
he said
women.
They weren't strong. He called them weak.
He said he said that Trump doesn't like smart women around him and strong women.
I agree.
She still hasn't said a word about it, and he's like one of her biggest mouthpieces.
So
how come she hasn't come out yet?
So
then?
that's
what
not
you're saying right now is not accurate.
Right. So there's a definitive difference there when you take an entire group of people. What Mark Cuban is talking about is Donald Trump's administration members. He did not want Nikki Haley to not only be his vice president, but he didn't even want Nikki Haley speaking on the tour with him. Now, why is that? I think most people would say Nikki Haley's a pretty intelligent person.
I'm a big fan of Nikki Haley. I think she'd be a great president one day.
He has not wanted her around. Why is that?
We don't know that yet.
What do you mean? It's 3 days before the election. She's offered to speak at his, and she's criticized him for the rhetoric. So Mark Cuban's not saying half the country that are women are stupid. What he said was the people around Donald Trump
The
He doesn't
women
right.
around
He
Donald
doesn't
Trump.
want smart women around him, and I think there's a fine line between saying that and taking an entire group of people like Puerto Rico and calling them garbage.
Mr. Trump has a lot of brilliant women around him.
Who?
The fact that Cuban said that is like,
Who?
really? What? Well, Kellyanne Conway's fantastic.
You think Kellyanne Conway's brilliant?
I didn't say, but I think she's fantastic. I think she's an amazing woman.
You think saying that we have alternative facts is a very intelligent thing to say? What's an alternative fact?
Well, I'm not going to critique every single thing a
Well,
person says on camera.
Listen, I don't think. I understand, but okay, you can disagree with Mark Cuban in his statement, but I think there's a difference between.
Why did Cuban come out and apologize immediately? Because
he didn't want. No, because he didn't. Well, first of all, when has Donald Trump apologized for anything? Number one, and number two, Mark Cuban's. I just interviewed him the other day, and I agree in retrospect to what he said. I agree that I don't think Donald Trump has a lot of intelligent people around him, let alone intelligent women.
I think Tulsi Gabbard's brilliant and strong. She's much stronger than Mark Cuban.
Well, again, I mean, Tulsi Gabbard is somebody that has never denounced Assad. Tulsi Gabbard is somebody that, in my opinion, was always a Republican.
She served in combat. She's very smart. She carved up Kamala Harris on stage to her face, and then she got crushed by it from the Democrats.
Okay, so let me ask you a question then. You would consider Tulsi Gabbard carving Kamala Harris? Would you say Kamala Harris carved Donald Trump?
No,
you wouldn't.
I think it was 3-on-1 that night, and it was obviously very apparent to anyone who watched that debate. Come on,
3-on-1.
It was 3-on-1 that night. 1,000%.
Why do you say that?
Did you watch the debate?
I did, of course I did.
You saw
they fact checked him 4 times.
They didn't fact check her one time the entire night.
What does she lie about?
She Bidenomics is working. We can start with that.
That's not a lie. That's an opinion, and I will second that. And you could tell me whether you disagree.
I 1,000% disagree.
Okay, so
and why didn't Biden or Kamala call Lincoln Riley's parents? They're still waiting for a call from.
Why didn't she call Lincoln Riley's
Lincoln
parents?
Riley, yeah. The trial started today for the alien that killed her.
You do know that there were illegals that murdered people under the Trump administration, and Trump didn't call those victims' families as well. So why weren't you calling for that?
Mr. Trump called quite a bit of them. Though.
He did.
He did. He reached out to quite. They don't report on it a lot of times. A lot of the great stuff he does.
Okay.
They don't report on it because why would you put him in a good light? Why would they put him in a good light? They don't like him.
If you do something good, then I'll put you in a good light.
But that's not his style, though. He does a lot of things behind the scenes people don't even know about.
Okay,
like Jennifer Hudson, for instance. Remember her family got murdered, wiped out? He put her up in Trump Tower. She stayed there rent-free for how long?
I think there are people that are bad people that are capable of doing some good things.
Well,
okay, I
he's
think
not
just
a bad
because
person. We can disagree on that.
Well, I mean, you know, I certainly think that when you have 30 plus women that accuse you of sexual assault or rape, including your ex-wife in a deposition under oath, and you're a liable sexual abuser, and you talk about grabbing women by the genitals, and you're hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein 7 times on his flight log, by the way.
Who else
that
was
proven.
hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, by the way?
Joe Biden or Kamala Harris? Because they're the one.
I'm just asking a question.
And I'm just saying Kamala Harris is running against Donald Trump. I'm not excusing anybody else that might have been hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein or Bill Clinton, who I just met, by the way, a couple weeks ago. It's Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. And all I'm saying is when you look at the statements he's made about his own daughter, about women in general, attacking women based on looks, I don't define that as a good person. But let's talk about policy. We got sidetracked.
Well, actually, I wanted to get back to you.
Sure,
I apologize. We got sidetracked.
That's okay.
I feel like I can talk to you forever, man. Like we've been friends forever. That's a good thing. I'm a Vegas
It's a good conversation.
It is, brother. It is, man.
A respectful, good conversation.
But
Go ahead.
But you were talking about what you look for in a leader, about good character.
Yep.
Bill Clinton, JFK.
But they're not running for office.
I'm just asking, though.
Yeah.
But you're saying, did you like them as president? Bill Clinton right now would not be a Democrat.
Right now, if Bill Clinton ran for office and he was running against Donald Trump, I would probably vote for Bill Clinton, not because I like Bill Clinton, but because I think he's less of a threat to our country than Donald Trump. I don't excuse any of the behavior of Bill Clinton. I thought it was despicable what he did with Monica Lewinsky, being a married man. It's horrible, and I would never defend that. But then when I bring up Donald Trump's behavior, and by the way, Donald Trump, a proven liable sexual abuser where the judge characterized it as rape, everybody seems to want to push that and brush it off to the side.
It was never rape, by the way. And
the judge characterizes
it
rape.
was a Democrat city that was trying to get him, take him down. Fat Alvin Bragg. We all know exactly what he was and is. So come on, all the lawsuits against Trump. We all know they're weaponizing of the DOJ against him. The Democrats are saying that's what Trump's going to do. They're literally doing it against him.
Who's weaponizing the DOJ against him?
Merrick Garland. I'm sure Biden had something to do with it.
You think Biden had something to do with it?
I
Well,
do.
there's no evidence of that. But why would he defy a subpoena for a year? Why would Trump do that?
Again, I have no idea. I don't know all the minute details.
Well, I don't think that's minor. He defied a subpoena for a year. The DOJ, the FBI, they said, please turn over the documents you have, like Joe Biden did, by the way. and Donald Trump decided to defy a subpoena for a year. Now, if you want to talk about stupid, he calls a lot of people stupid. He calls Kamala Harris stupid. He calls a lot of people dumb, idiots, whatever. I think it's very stupid when you would defy a subpoena for a year and think you could just take any documents you want and not give them back.
He had presidential privilege, though.
That's not true.
That is true. We can agree. I disagree on that.
Well, then why
one.
did he defy a subpoena for a year?
Because he's a fighter. He likes to fight.
So you would define a fighter somebody
Did you see where
who defies
Biden
a
had
subpoena?
those intel documents behind his
And
Corvette in the garage?
And did you see the way they reacted when the FBI contacted them? They returned everything and they cooperated. Donald Trump did the opposite of that.
So why didn't Biden go to trial?
Because he returned all the documents
that's not
and he
accurate.
cooperated with the attorneys.
No, he didn't go to trial.
And he wasn't showing those
because he's feeble and has dementia. And the judge said, the prosecutor said he couldn't make it through.
So nobody said on the record medically that he has dementia. I'm not a doctor.
He
You're
will.
not a doctor.
Wait for the diagnosis. I will put you any amount of money. That diagnosis will be coming out.
So why did
in
Donald
5
Trump go
years.
to Walter Reed in 2018, and why won't he show us his records of health? Why do you think that is?
He doesn't have to.
He doesn't because he doesn't have to.
Yeah, for
Right.
what? I'm not going to
If
show
he's
you my medical. I'm in
he's-
tip-top
You're
shape.
not running for president.
Yeah, I know,
if
but-
he's a very healthy man, why won't he tell us why he went to Walter Reed, and why won't Kamala Harris has released her medical records? Why won't Donald Trump release his? If you're concerned about the health of a president, don't you think the American people have a right to know and see your medical records to see if you're competent to be president of the United States?
Brian, don't you feel like you voted for Biden, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So for years we sat there. We knew exactly what he had going into the last election.
What did he have?
The Democrats lied about his physical condition for years.
What was his condition?
I'm not a doctor. I'll let everyone else who's
Neither
seen
am
him stumble upstairs, fall down.
Did you see Donald
can't
Trump trying?
complete the
Okay, let's talk
sentence.
about stumbling if that's a concern to you.
Not
Did you
just stumbling. Come on.
Okay,
There's
well,
been
hold
a
on.
lot.
Let's go one by one.
Falling
Did you
off his
see-
bike.
Did you see Donald Trump the other day trying to get on a garbage truck? Did you see him blunder and almost fall down? Have you seen videos of him the last several
he had
months
to reach up to get
dragging his right leg everywhere?
Okay,
if
but-
stumbling is important to you, shouldn't you be concerned about Donald Trump?
Okay, one, he's probably never been in a garbage truck before, so he was reaching up first time to get one. So I'm giving him a pass. Now I would probably do the same thing. I'm in pretty
You think
good shape.
you could see Donald Trump on a bicycle? Think he can get on a bike and
Yeah,
run?
I
Did you
think
see
he
Joe Biden? Why won't he show his medical records then? Why won't we see this guy exercise except taking a golf swing? All I'm saying is I want the standard for both people. By the way, Joe Biden's not running for president right now. Kamala Harris.
Why isn't Joe Biden running for president?
I
right now?
believe Joe Biden, and by the way, I'm not a doctor.
I think you know the right reason.
I believe right now, compared to a year ago, and people that I've talked to that are close to Joe Biden, including George Clooney and others that have said on the record.
George Clooney, come on, man. I'm sorry.
Well, what's wrong with George
Nobody
Clooney?
wants to listen to George Clooney. Nobody wants
But
to
people
listen
want
to
to listen
Julia
to
Roberts.
But people want to listen to Laura Loomer, and people want to listen to Kid Rock and Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan on the record, by the way, who said on the record that he hates black people. Kid Rock, who's used homophobic slurs at his concerts. These are the people that Donald Trump hangs out with, and these are the people that spoke at the Republican National Convention. These are Donald Trump's celebrity friends.
Didn't Eminem just endorse Kamala?
He did. What's wrong with Eminem?
Have you not listened to some of his lyrics? How he
So we're
talks
talking about
women?
lyrics
Oh,
in songs.
well, he's an artist. He's
Right,
putting it out there.
but I'm not talking about. Well, I don't know. You can tell me what he said in lyrics. I don't know. Has he? I mean, I don't know. I'm not familiar. You can educate me on that.
Yep.
All I'm saying is, if we're going to talk about celebrities, and you want to poo-poo a guy like George Clooney, who, by the way, is probably one of the best actors of our generation, but you're okay with Dana White, who slaps around his wife.
I'm not cool with that, but I am a big fan of Dana White. I think he's a great man.
Okay. Well, I don't think great men hit women. That's just my opinion, Keith.
Well, I'm just saying.
I bet you've never put your hands on a woman. You seem like a nice guy. I
No,
bet you've
never.
never. Neither
Never.
have I. Good,
Never.
because you're a good man. You wouldn't do that.
I
Dana
don't-
White slapped his wife. That's not my. People make mistakes. That's a mistake. Is
If
legal.
you want to go down that list of celebrities or celebrity couples who've had altercations, I mean, we'd be here all day.
Well, the only reason why I'm doing
I
this.
don't think it's great. And also, back to Mr. White, I apologize
Yes,
as well.
go ahead.
Because I'm a Las Vegas native. He's employed and he's brought a lot of money to the city to help the city grow.
I think it's very possible to help a lot of people and also be a wife beater. And that's exactly what Dana White is, in my personal opinion. We can disagree on that. I know you're friends with him, so I don't want to.
No, I'm not friends with him. I just met him once. I just
I don't
haven't.
wanna-
I'm just.
All I'm saying is George Clooney's never been accused of hitting a woman. George Clooney has never been accused of homophobic slurs. George Clooney is not caught on tape saying he hates black people. The people that spoke at the Republican National Convention that are celebrities are the ones that have done those things. So you can dislike George Clooney's politics, but as a human being, I would put him ahead of any of the people, most of them, the celebrities, that Donald Trump associates himself with if we're going to go down that route. The only reason why I brought up George Clooney is because he's close to Joe Biden, right, Keith? And he said over the last 6 months to a year, he's seen a deterioration in Joe Biden's health. And by the way, I would agree with that. I thought that debate performance, Joe Biden's an old man, by the way, just like Donald Trump. He's kind of old too. And
Mr.
I think
Trump still has his bearings, so.
Well,
1000%.
I mean,
he's sharp as a tack.
I mean, I don't think he's extremely sharp, but
do.
we can, well,
We
I
can
mean,
disagree.
all right.
I just think he is.
All right.
I know he doesn't sleep much. I'll tell you that right now. He doesn't sleep. I do remember when I was working for him, I get emails sometimes in the middle of the night. Changes. But I will say, everything I sent out to him, he looked at everything. I mean, I've had other bosses, whatever, but
Right.
Mr. Trump looked at everything,
Well,
and he proved. And only one image, if I remember correctly, he didn't approve of that he sent back, so we just didn't use it. But everything, I would say about 95% of everything I sent out, he approved.
Well, like I said, I mean, personally, I'm happy for you. I think that's great.
Yeah.
You're a very talented artist.
I appreciate
and
that. Thank
nobody could take that away from you. Let's get to policy.
Okay.
You
I'm sorry,
talked.
bro.
That's okay.
We keep on these tangents, man. I swear.
That's
We've
okay.
been buddies for 10
Hey,
years.
hey, that's all right. I think it's good. All
sir.
right. So we talked about the moral compass and my disagreements with you on Donald Trump, the human being. Obviously, we're going to agree to disagree on that. But moving towards policy, you mentioned inflation.
Yes, sir.
Inflation's under 3% right now compared to all the other G7 countries that we compare ourselves to, which are the richest countries in the world. We're number one as far as the lowest inflation numbers. Donald Trump was given a very, very good economy. Even Republicans would admit that under Barack Obama. He was left with a pretty darn good economy. Also, by the way, Barack Obama left him, I guess for lack of a better term, a plan in case we have a pandemic. Donald Trump left Joe Biden a horrendous economy. We were locked up in our rooms, coming out of COVID, losing 3,000 to 5,000 people a day. A horrific economy. Everybody wasn't working. Am I blaming Donald Trump for COVID? No. That would be unfair. What I am is I'm blaming him for his response to it. It's going to be gone by Easter, 15 cases down to 0. He used coronavirus press conferences as campaign rallies. He undermined the seriousness of the virus. And again, I'm not a doctor, you're not a doctor, but look at the economy that he left Joe Biden. Look at where we're at now. NASDAQ, through the roof. Manufacturing jobs, through the roof. Unemployment rate, the lowest it's been in 50 years, even before the pandemic hit when Donald Trump was in office. Why is that a bad thing?
Okay, one, Obama never hit 3.0 in a GDP ever as president. Never did. He never, because he had overregulated everything. So if you'll start with that. Now, what Mr. Trump did, one, as far as COVID goes, there was misinformation. Where's Fauci at right now? There was misinformation going left and right.
He hired Dr. Fauci.
No, I know, he did.
I thought he only hired the best people.
Now, that actually, one of the mistakes he just admitted to is he actually hired some bad people that were working for him last time, which he'll
I
correct
thought he
this
only
time.
hired the best people.
Nah, well.
By the way, Fauci's worked in 4 other administrations.
Yeah, I understand that as well. He did a great job with the AIDS pandemic, too, if I remember correctly. But anyway, back to as far as Mr. Trump, he gave Biden 3 vaccines. More people died under Biden with 3 vaccines than under Mr. Trump. That's just a factual.
So there's no evidence that people died, and I don't want to get into a COVID conversation.
Well,
with you,
no, but Mr. Biden said any person shouldn't be president if this amount of people died under your watch. But more people died under Biden. That's just a factual. And he had 3 vaccines.
Right, and why do you think that was? Do you think it was Biden's fault, or do you think maybe it was because what Donald Trump left him? We were in a pandemic, losing 3,000 to 5,000 people when Trump left office. You don't think that has anything to do with it?
Mr. Trump gave him 3 vaccines. All right,
Okay.
in 9 months, which is unheard of, by the way. Biden had it. More people still died under him. I'll leave it at that.
Well, sure, and I think a lot of doctors, and again, I'm not a doctor, but a lot of people would say where you look at where the virus was at that time and how much it had spread.
Sure.
I think Joe Biden's done a pretty good job.
He did a terrible job.
Okay, well,
We can agree to disagree.
I don't know. You're saying Biden did a terrible job with the pandemic, but Trump did a good job. Like I don't understand.
I'm just saying, within inside of 9 months, he got Mr. Biden 3 vaccines.
I don't know what that. I don't know what.
Wait, well, according to the Democrats,
I don't
remember
know.
what the Democrats said about the vaccines? I remember Matt out every night. If you get the vaccine,
So it was
you
proven.
won't-
It was proven.
Am I allowed to finish, or are you going to keep interrupting?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Matt out and everyone else, I said it up at the time, you get the vaccine, you will not pass on coronavirus. If you get the vaccine, it'll stay with you. That was all wrong.
Who said that if you get the vaccine, you cannot pass on coronavirus?
Rachel Maddow said it. You can
Okay,
Google
well-
it, put
well-
it on YouTube.
Well, if we're going to talk about media members that make misinformation, are you concerned about the Dominion voting machine lawsuit where Fox News was sued for $800 million for lying
Yeah.
about Dominion voting
and
machines?
they lost that.
Right,
And,
they did.
yeah,
they did. So,
Yeah.
so I'm sure you can definitely find anecdotal evidence of media members on the left that say things that aren't true. I can guarantee you, I could find more members on the right that say things that aren't true in the members of the media today.
I would
including
disagree with that
The
because most-
2020 election. Some people on Newsmax, most of them still say that the 2020 election was stolen.
Sure.
And that's nonsense. It's utter nonsense.
I don't even like talking about it anymore, but it's like, let's just look forward.
I don't either. But the reason why we talk about it
Sure.
is because Donald Trump, there's two candidates in this race.
Yep.
I think we can agree with that.
Sure.
And if Kamala Harris
Jill
loses,
Stein? No Jill Stein love?
don't even get me started with her, Keith. But this is important, Keith,
Yes,
at
sir.
least in my opinion.
Sure.
If Kamala Harris loses on Tuesday or Wednesday or whenever we find out,
I think it'll be Tuesday.
She's going to pick up the phone and she's going to concede the same way Hillary Clinton did. If Donald Trump loses, I guarantee you this, and I'll bet anything on it, that if he loses, he will never concede.
Yeah, but Brian, come on, man. You remember 2016? Even Hillary was saying he was an illegitimate president.
And you know why she said? Okay, let's talk about that.
They all were saying he
Let's
wasn't
talk
a real
about that.
president. The Russian collusion bull jive. It was all. I mean,
Okay,
come on.
let's
that
talk
was all,
about that.
That was all fake.
Sure. So first of all, it's important to note Hillary Clinton conceded.
She
and
did.
called him. Number two, when she's called him an illegitimate president, by the way, I would say the same thing. And it has nothing to do with the election. It has everything to do, and she's clarified and talked about this, his behavior.
She's an evil woman.
Okay, well, we can get to why you think
She
Hillary's
is.
evil, but let's
You
stick
talk
to
about
this.
Mr. Trump. She is an
Okay.
evil, malicious.
Okay, well,
Sore
if
loser.
okay, so Hillary Clinton is a sore loser, the one who conceded. Donald Trump to this day has not conceded he lost the 2020 election.
That's true.
Would you call him a sore loser?
No. He gave his reasons why, so I wouldn't call him a sore loser.
What do you mean he gave his reasons why? Nothing has been proven that there was any evidence of widespread
Well,
voter fraud.
The fact that he gave his reasons and you just said that it wasn't proven, it's two different things. He just gave his belief why it was stolen. That's all.
So
Why he
anybody could
believes
just
so.
throw a thing at a wall and say, hey, the election was stolen. Let me ask you another question.
Yes, sir.
In 2016 and the year before 2016, Donald Trump said that the election was going to be stolen and it was going to be rigged and the Democrats were going to cheat. And then something happened. Donald Trump won. I think we would agree. Donald Trump won a free and fair election.
Correct.
And then all of a sudden, all those conversations went away. I guess it wasn't stolen. I guess it was fair. Donald Trump won. And then for 3 years, I didn't hear Republicans talking about election integrity. And then it started up again before 2020. He's doing it again now. Under no circumstance will Donald Trump concede. He will not concede the 2020 election. He will not concede this election. I guarantee you 150% he will not concede. And if Donald Trump, let me ask you a question. If Donald Trump didn't say that the election was stolen leading up to January 6th, does January 6th happen?
It did, and it's a black mark. I'm to this day, I'm still upset about that. So
We all are.
But
the question is, Go ahead.
Even in that though, he said leave peacefully. He did not direct anybody to go do that.
does that happen if Donald Trump isn't lying about the 2020 election leading up to January 6th?
I don't know. Honestly,
You think it would have happened if Donald Trump conceded?
again, I don't know, Brian. I just know what he said that day in January 6th.
And I know what he
And
said
he was
every-
never charged with insurrection.
No, but he's been charged with other serious crimes.
Well, they were trying to get anything they could on him. That's why they hate him so much.
What do you
That's
think
why.
about, I don't know who they is, but what do you think about him sitting on his ass for 4 hours during January 6th, not putting out a video for 4 hours? Would you call that dereliction of duty when people were dying, people were getting shot, and they were saying hang Mike Pence, and he sat there for 3.5 hours, 4 hours?
Well,
Melania Trump was being begged to put out a tweet, and she said no to stop the violence?
There was a lot of stuff that was made up that day, too. Only one person died on January 6th, and she was an Air Force veteran
So-
who got shot.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And the other people who died, they passed away. I don't know. He had prior conditions
Brian
beforehand.
Sitnick, so there was a woman that was also trampled on the steps that day.
But only
just
one
to be
person
clear.
died that day, and it was an
Not
Air Force
true.
veteran who
Oh,
got shot.
okay.
That day, there was only one person.
That day, there was also a woman that was trampled on the steps. You
Okay,
can
I don't
read
know
about
that story,
Okay,
and I apologize.
understood. Brian Sitnick died the next day. There were over 140 officers that were injured that day. Brian Sitnick died the next day.
Yep.
There were several officers that committed suicide. All their family members said they were never the same till that day.
Okay.
That's a lot of damage that was done that
I
day.
just said it was a black mark. And it
Okay,
makes
so
me
we
sick.
agree.
Yeah,
Let's not
I
get into
told you that.
semantics
Yeah,
on,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
obviously, as someone who served,
Yeah.
you don't want to see police officers being beaten with their own batons, right?
No,
Of course
no, come
not.
on.
You're a
What are you
decent man.
talking
You don't want
about
that to
here?
happen. We agree.
Every time I see the video, it
Okay,
makes me sick.
we agree. The only right, me as well. I'm glad we agree on that.
And those are Trump supporters.
And
That's
by
what I'm saying.
by the way, I want to ask you this then.
Yes, sir.
Since we agree on that, and I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Doesn't mean we have to agree on everything, but when Donald Trump characterized all those people, including those that beat police officers on January 6th, as quote patriots and hostages. Many of those people, some of whom are still behind bars for very serious crimes,
Sure.
attacking police officers. He generalized all those people, not some, all of them, and he still does to this day, as patriots and hostages, and he called it a day of joy and a day of love. Would you agree with those characterizations?
I'm not going to take the easy way out here, Brian. I don't know the specifics or the context of any of that. I just don't. So I didn't hear him say any of that. So I don't know.
He said it multiple times in speeches.
Yeah, I haven't heard it, and I apologize.
You haven't heard it?
No,
Okay.
The way you just explained it, I have not heard that.
So let me phrase it a
and
different
I don't
way.
want to be one of those that just says something to say something. If I don't have enough
Let me phrase it a
information-
different way, even though he said it multiple times in the last several months.
Sure.
What would you say to somebody who says those people on January 6th, some of whom beat police officers with their own batons, used pepper spray on those officers, are hostages and patriots? Would you agree with that statement in general? If somebody makes a statement like that,
Again, I don't want to comment. I don't know the specifics, Brian, and I'm not taking the soft way out or whatever. I don't like to say stuff unless I kind of have a depth of knowledge of a certain thing. I don't want to say something.
But you know what took place on January 6th.
I saw it.
We agree.
Yeah,
that it was a very bad day for the country.
Yeah, it makes me sick.
Right, as do I.
Yep.
In general, I'll even go in more general terms.
Sure.
If somebody takes a police officer's baton and beats them, as we know on video, some people did that.
I didn't see that, but okay, I'm taking your word for it. Though.
In general,
yes, sir.
If you assault a police officer, I'm just going to give it in general.
Oh, you're breaking the law.
And you're in jail.
If you assault anyone,
Right. Obviously, we agree. Obviously, you wouldn't.
I'm pro-cop.
You wouldn't characterize that person as a patriot or a hero or a hostage if they were in jail.
Of course not. Come on. We're human.
So at least we got to that point.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
But again, the other stuff, and I apologize, and I know
That's
you're not
okay.
lying, and you're not making shit up. I just, sorry, I'm
That's
on
okay. Yeah, that's okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I just don't like to say stuff unless I have some depth of knowledge or some information. That's all. I mean, I'm not calling you a liar. I mean, I'm sure you're probably telling the truth. I just don't know enough, and I apologize.
He said it multiple times at his rallies, and he's told, boy, I'd like to rough that guy up. I just think inciting violence, and that's okay. Let's talk about the
violence
rallies.
is never the answer unless we're talking like war. Even then, it makes me sick.
Of course. I mean, I go to these Kamala Harris rallies and I go to Trump rallies. I try to go to both because I want to get a perspective on both. And when I go to these Trump rallies, and I know you just went to the rally yesterday, which
I always go. It feels like a big family affair.
It's the freedom that we all have to go to rallies to support, and I would never take that right away from you. And I know you feel the same way.
Yes, sir.
I go to some of these rallies. I went to one in June. I went to one last month. I saw Confederate flags. I saw F. Joe in the Ho shirts.
I apologize, Brian, because I was just in Tennessee last week. I was telling you that. I mean, have you ever been down south before?
Sure.
You'll see Confederate. I mean, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying you'll see Confederate flag. I just see them.
You would agree with me that for most people, they see it as a symbol of hatred and bigotry and racism.
I don't want to speak for anybody else, but yeah, I can see why people would say that, but I'm not going to speak for that.
And by the way, Donald Trump, when NASCAR banned the flag, Donald Trump was the first person to go on Fox News and attack NASCAR for banning the Confederate flag. But anyway.
Honestly, also, I know again, first thing I think of is Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
I see that. That's all I think
There's
of.
a lot of people in this country, particularly African Americans, that see that as a symbol of hatred and bigotry and slavery.
Sure.
But anyway, I go to some of these rallies and they're selling Bibles, they're selling Trump condoms, they're selling Trump gold sneakers, F. Joe in the Ho, Let's Go Brandon. I go to these Harris rallies and I see positivity. I don't see a lot of bigotry. I don't see a lot of hatred. And
She's gotten pretty angry the last 2 weeks, though.
Well, give
She
me
came
something
out
she
with
said
joy.
that you disagree with.
Well, you can just tone. I mean, we can measure tone of her.
Tone?
Yeah. If you watch her, when she first came on the scene, she was doing interviews. She was joy. She was Mamala. Is that what they were calling her? I think.
I didn't call her that.
Yeah. They were saying that, and it was all joy and hope and this, that, and the other. But the last 2 weeks, there's been a noticeable difference in her
Well,
attitude.
give me an example, like her
Well,
attitude. What has she said that you think is just
I'm not
negative?
gonna-
Because I think she's talking positive about the future. She does talk about how she feels Donald Trump.
Well, she's calling Mr. Trump a fascist. Come on.
Donald Trump has called her a fascist multiple times.
Yeah, I know, but again, though, she started out with joy and happiness to attacking him, calling him a fascist. Like, wait a second there. So
She said she believes he's a fascist. By the way, John Kelly said the same thing, and she was referring to the
John
statements
Kelly
of
is
John
a
Kelly.
disgruntled employee who was fired.
So a five-star general who, by the way, lost his son in war.
I'm aware.
Right. And you think he's just lying and making things up
I do.
because he's a disgruntled employee.
Yeah, I think he's
Okay.
he's going to have to get Mr. Trump.
So
I think a
Donald
lot
Trump-
of them are. A lot of them stabbed him in the back, who we hired.
So you have a problem with Kamala Harris calling him a fascist, with, by the way, I believe he is. But you have a problem with that.
He was president for 4 years.
What
though,
about
Brian.
Donald Trump calling her, making fun of looks, calling her stupid, calling her an idiot, calling her a Marxist, calling her a fascist, calling her a moron. Why don't I hear people like you calling that out? If you have a problem,
I didn't hear him call her a moron.
Oh yeah.
When did he
oh
say
yeah.
that?
Constantly. I mean, we've played audio of
I
him
never
calling
heard the
her
word moron, and I apologize.
idiot,
Maybe
moron, stupid. I mean,
he's called her stupid, and I would
are you
not.
okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
So it's okay with Donald Trump calling his vice presidential opponent
Sure.
with a college degree who is a successful prosecutor, an elected senator, an educated woman, stupid. You're
Ron-
okay with personal insults.
Ryan, I have 2 college degrees, and it's because you have a college degree does not make you smart.
Okay. So,
She failed the bar, by the way.
by the way, she failed the bar once, and then she passed it the second time. So if you fail
but
the
she
bar once,
failed
that
it.
means you're stupid?
No,
There are brilliant attorneys who have failed the bar. That
You're-
means they're stupid?
You're putting words in my mouth. I
Well,
did
no.
not say that.
You're okay with Donald Trump calling her stupid. I'm trying to understand
I have
why.
no problem with him doing that because the attacks on him, what they've said about him and his family, by the way, are amazing. Eric and Laura Trump are as down to earth and as great as people. You wouldn't even know they were Trump if you talked to them. They're in here right now. They're so awesome.
So I don't know
I
his
only met with
family
them
members.
twice, and they're great.
So I don't know his
Now let's
family
talk
members.
about Joe Biden's son. The
Beau Biden,
disgrace.
who served the country and lost his life.
Well,
You have a
no,
problem
I'm
with Beau
talking
Biden?
about the guy who brought cocaine into the White House.
We don't know that that's
Oh.
never been proven that Hunter Biden brought cocaine into the
He
White House.
brought- come on.
Completely. No, don't come
And,
on.
and then the
It's
FBI
totally
conveniently, they
unsubstantiated.
couldn't find fingerprints on the baggie. Really?
So there's no evidence that Hunter Biden brought drugs into the White House. You can think that if you like.
I would think 90% of the country probably thinks. he
Okay,
brought
but
it.
Eric and Don
And
Jr.
you saw him on the 4th of July out in the White House doing this with his hand on his nose nonstop, and he's walking. He was wired as hell. You saw that video, right?
So you're worried about the behavior of a family member, and you think that he
I'm
brought
not worried about it. I don't
cocaine
care. I'm
into
glad he's
the
gone.
White House.
Yeah,
But yet Eric and Don Jr., there's evidence that they stole from the Trump organization
That's not
charity
true.
money.
There's not
which,
evidence.
Then
No,
why
no,
did they
no.
plead the fifth? Donald Trump once said, if you plead the fifth, you're probably guilty. Donald Trump and his 2
They've done.
sons.
I've done work with children who are sick. Eric Trump and what he did with a lot of sick kids. Do all the research on that. I'll
I
push
have.
back on that.
I have.
Yeah.
They've pleaded the fifth. They won't
Okay,
answer
they pleaded-
questions.
I know they did a tremendous amount of work for families who really needed it.
I
And
don't
I'm
doubt
gonna
that
agree
they're.
with
I don't doubt that they've done
They're
some.
an amazing family. I'm sorry.
I don't doubt that they've done so. Well, I mean, you think Melania Trump and Donald Trump are just in a love affair, just really love each
Well, I'm
other?
not going to comment on someone else's relationship.
Well, I mean, you're talking about the family, but
Yeah.
you don't want to talk about their relationship. I think if we're going to talk
Well,
about the
I don't
family,
know. Again, Brian, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what goes behind closed doors. Again,
but yet
I
you
told
know that Hunter Biden brought cocaine to the White House.
I would bet my life on it.
You
that
won't
was his
comment on the
cocaine.
personal relationship of Melania Trump and Donald Trump, but you're going to make an assumption that Hunter, with by the
Well,
way,
they're
no
married.
evidence proven, that he brought cocaine to the White House. What about Beau Biden, who served this country honorably? Can you name me one person in Donald Trump's immediate family that served the country? I'm just curious.
Well, no. What difference does it make, though? I apologize.
What difference does it make? Well, we're
Yeah.
talking about families, and I think
Yeah.
Beau Biden was a hero. I think you would agree. You're a hero. I think
Oh, no.
anybody who serves this country honorably, in my definition, is a hero.
We just do
You're
our
a
job,
hero.
that's all. My brother's still serving. He's been in 4 years.
And I appreciate that in your family and your brother. All I'm saying is Beau Biden served the country. Joe Biden's,
How did Joe Biden die?
well, burned.
Give me the 3 reasons Joe Biden said he died.
Well, there was one reason, not 3 reasons, and
Well,
I think it's pretty evident because Joe Biden's talked about this, which are the burn pits, and many of those who served
Joe
have
Biden
received
also
cancer
said-
from burn pits.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
He also said he died in Iraq. He said he died from Afghanistan. He said 3 different reasons
Serving.
why Bo died.
Serving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bo died here in the
Right.
United States.
He got cancer
Sadly.
from burn pits.
And
While serving.
I actually had a cancer scare last year, man. So I feel, and I deal with kids.
What do
who are
you
suffering.
take more issue to? Joe Biden saying that his son died serving, and by the way, burn pits caused him brain cancer, but many others have died of brain cancer.
I agree.
Does that
That's
bother
sad.
you more than Donald Trump poo-pooing on our military,
He did not poo-poo on our military.
dodging the military multiple times?
He did not dodge. Come on.
The doctor who wrote him bone spurs, by the way, I'd love to see the health records on that. His family members have said that doctor wrote that note that he had burn spurs specifically to do him a quote-unquote, his father, Fred Trump, a favor. He never served. He dodged the military multiple
I wouldn't
times.
say he dodged, Brian. Come on now. That's an
Okay.
accusation you don't know anything about, and I apologize.
Well, I do know something about because the doctor who wrote that note, his immediate family members said that their father did it because he's passed away. Father did it as a favor to Fred Trump. So I think there's some credibility to that.
Again, you don't know all the information. I don't know the information. I know.
Did
he didn't
anybody
dodge.
serve in Donald Trump's family? No.
Well, I
But
don't
you're
look-
but you're
but I
poo-pooing
don't
Joe
look-
Biden's family. That's
I
why.
don't look well because I don't like what he brought into the White House. I do not like that family.
What did he bring into the White House? I don't. What do you
Hunter
mean?
is a disgrace.
Hunter wasn't brought into the White House. He never worked in Joe Biden's
He
administration.
stayed there several times. He might as well have been. How many times? 100 times, 200 times they showed he was at the White House.
He wasn't working in the Joe Biden administration, though. All right, so you care about people that people bring in. Let's go with that. On 9/11.
By the way, and I don't look down on anybody who was not served, by the way. I don't know if that got lost in the
I
conversation.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I don't think you would, because I don't think you would make the statements that Donald Trump has made about John McCain. So I appreciate that.
I was young and dumb when I went in. I wasn't ready for college. I was 17 years old. So
Right.
I just, I didn't know any better.
I don't think many people would make, and I would never accuse you of doing that. And I don't think a lot of people like yourself would use the language that Donald Trump has used about those that have served. I want to be clear.
It was
on
great
that.
though, Brian. When I did enlist,
Yeah.
it's the mob museum now, but back then we'd go back there, we take our tests, and we did our swear-ins there. And then
Right.
whenever I was 7, and I enlisted during the Iraq War. Iraq War
Listen,
started.
I have done work raising money for charity, for people like you, for
Sure.
people, brave men and women. We have to do more for our brave men. There's no question about that. But you had mentioned, surrounding yourself.
Mr.
around
Trump
people.
did a great job at the VA, by the way. It was a disaster under Obama.
Well,
That's a fact.
I think going back to what we talked about earlier, because you had an issue.
The VA now is so much better than it was 8 years ago. 1,000%. It's a totally different system now.
Okay, I mean,
Mr.
we can
Trump
have that
pumped a lot of
conversation,
money into the VA.
but I want to go back to something you said earlier, and then I'm happy to talk to you about that. So you have a problem with Hunter Biden going to the White House. I want to ask you a question.
Yep.
9/11 anniversary, not that long ago. He invited a woman to the 9/11 ceremonies personally with him, a woman who said the White House would smell like curry if Kamala Harris ever got back into the White House.
Stupid comment.
She's a known. Well, I think it's worse than stupid.
Yeah.
It's racist. She also is a known self-admitted Islamophobe.
Who was it?
Laura Loomer. Now, Donald Trump took the time to invite her to 9/11 ceremonies. What's make this even worse than that is she's a conspiracy theorist.
I will say I actually know Laura, or I did. I drew her. She's in Florida. But
Do you have a problem with Donald Trump inviting her at a 9/11 ceremony side by side with him, a woman who is a known bigoted, racist conspiracy theorist? If you have a problem with Hunter Biden sleeping in a bed at the White House, surely you would have a problem with Donald Trump inviting Laura Loomer,
Well,
right?
again, like I said earlier, Brian, I'm not going to get. If I was going to get mad at every little thing, I'd be mad all day.
Okay, but you
know what I'm
brought
saying?
up Hunter. Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
But I'm only reacting to you bringing up Hunter Biden. Boy, they look at him. He slept at the White House. But then when Laura Loomer is invited, a known bigoted racist, you don't want to talk about it. Do you see where I'm going
I
with
just
that?
don't care.
Why can't we be? Why do you care about Hunter Biden sleeping at the White House?
Hunter
Then?
Biden is the son of the president of the United States.
Okay, so
and he
you-
was making untold millions of dollars from unknown donors selling his paintings. They still didn't release who's buying his paintings up. He's
So
getting
you have a
millions of-
problem. I think we could agree that
Sure.
if Hunter Biden's father wasn't Joe Biden, he probably wouldn't be selling those paintings.
He said that.
Okay. Okay, I agree with you. Now, there are no laws on the books that say
Yep.
you can't take advantage of who your father or mother is in office to make money. I wish there were laws in effect, but here's the point I'm trying to make, and I think I made it earlier.
Sure.
If you have an issue with Hunter Biden selling paintings because of who his father is,
Not just selling paintings.
okay,
There was
Burisma, whatever it is.
Yeah,
If you have a
exactly.
problem with that, then I would hope that you would also have a problem with people that were actually in Donald Trump's administration, including Jared Kushner, who received a $2.1 billion check from the Saudis. And you and I both know there is no chance he receives that check if he's not working for Donald
I
Trump.
don't know that. And I know you're going to say it. I don't know
Keith,
that.
come on, man. You keep saying that to me. Come on, man.
I'm
You
just
mean to
saying
tell
it.
me
I
that you
don't
think Jared Kushner would receive $2.1 billion from the Saudis if he wasn't in Donald? A guy who is a moron, by the way, whose father gave $5 million to Harvard for him to get into Harvard,
That's a
who
little
has
strong.
burned all of his father's money. You can look it up with the real estate deals in Manhattan. He's never done anything as far as making money in his life or in real estate or anything. And you don't have a problem with him making $2.1 billion from the Saudis. By the way, Donald Trump didn't send Mike Pompeo over there to the Saudis the last couple months of his administration. Guess who he sent? Jared Kushner. How about Ivanka Trump, who made $600 million in Chinese trademarks under the Trump administration? Another person who worked for Donald Trump. I just want consistency,
If
man.
anything was illegal, though, they would have found something.
Well,
If
then
anything
why are
was
you complaining
illegal-
about Hunter Biden selling paintings?
'Cause-
That's not illegal.
No, I think he illegally made money off Burisma and leveraged his father.
That
to make
hasn't
all
been
kinds of
proven
money.
that it was illegal.
Give it time. How is Joe Biden a millionaire?
How is Joe Biden a millionaire?
Yeah, off his salary. He's a millionaire.
Sure.
How? How
What
make
did
that
he
money,
do
Brian?
that was illegal?
I'm asking you a question. Though. How is he a millionaire?
How is Joe Biden a millionaire? From
Nobody
what-
bought his book.
So what I'm looking up as far as being a millionaire is real estate deals that he had. He's not
He had
worth.
real estate deals.
Sure.
Okay. How did
Well,
he
what
get
has
them?
been proven?
I'm
What has he
just-
done that's illegal? I'm asking you. I don't know. Tell me.
Okay, I'm just
Tell
asking
me.
you a question.
I don't
How
know.
was he a
Tell me.
millionaire?
Tell
Okay.
me. I haven't looked at his.
I don't know either, but there's.
I haven't looked at his financials. But why is it when I bring up 2.1 billion and 600
Joe
million?
Biden is not a smart man. First of all, we can start with that. And the fact that he's a millionaire, like really?
He's not a smart
He's
man.
not a smart. He's a good politician or a bad politician. The way we want to look at it. He's
He
not a
became
smart
the
man.
president of the United States and he defeated Donald Trump. So I guess Donald Trump lost to a very
That was
stupid man.
that was more an anti-Trump vote than a pro-Biden vote. You know that.
My vote was absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree with you. Why do you
Yes.
think that is?
Same with Harris. It's not a pro-Harris vote. It's going to be an anti-Trump vote.
I
She got 1% when she ran in
I
2020.
feel differently about Harris than I do Joe. By the way, I think Joe Biden's a decent man
Oh,
who's lived
oh
an
my
honorable
goodness.
life. Oh, so Joe Biden's a bad man, but Donald Trump is the good man?
Did you ever hear of Tara Reid? He violated her.
Okay, let's talk about that. Sure.
yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it happened. It's a
So-
factual. I actually talked to her.
Yeah. So
I actually did a drawing for her
Sure.
too, but
Okay.
the problem, and I wouldn't say the
so
problem.
you talked to her.
It
Okay.
was.
So let's talk about Tara Reid.
it
for
was a little
moment.
too
So
graphic.
she's changed her story multiple times.
She's not allowed to do that.
I didn't say she wasn't allowed to do it. Let me just finish. She changed her story multiple times. It's never been proven in a court of law, liable or criminal. You have Donald Trump. Since you care, and I'm glad to hear you say this, you care about women that come forward and make these alleged claims.
Sure.
Donald Trump has 30 women that have come forward that have accused he raped them or sexually assaulted them. It's been proven in a court of law, proven that he is a liable sexual abuser. Now, if you want to say it's all the Democrats and it's the two-tier justice
That's
system,
accurate.
okay, well, you can have that opinion, but I find it interesting that you bring up one woman with no credibility, in my opinion, that has come forward multiple times with no evidence that anything happened, but yet the 30 women that have come forward you don't want to talk about.
So all 30 women are telling the truth then.
Are they all lying?
I don't know. I would.
Maybe Donald Trump did some bad things.
I don't
Maybe
know.
he did some
I
bad
don't know.
Okay, so if you don't know, then why do you put credence with one woman who came forward?
Because I actually talked to her and she went into pretty good detail.
I've talked to some women that say they were sexually abused by Donald Trump. They've gone into detail too. Why is it what they say not valid?
Even Brian, on this topic, I don't want to get into the sleaze and this stuff. I just not comfortable.
Okay,
with
but
it.
you
That's all
brought
right.
up Tara Reid,
Yeah.
Keith.
No, because you said Biden was a decent man. That's
Sure.
why.
But
and
you-
we've seen him grope kids. We've
He's
seen
never
him-
groped
Yes,
kids.
he
That's not
has.
true.
On her
No, that's
chest.
not true.
There's videos
That's not
of
true.
it.
That's not
It- I'll send you the link.
There's a difference-
He smells the hair. He had to come out and apologize for saying if I came out and was a little too touchy-feely, that like, really, dude, you didn't know?
I think there's a difference between hugging a child,
Countless videos of him being a little inappropriate, just touching people, a little weird.
but proven in a court of law is there's no credence to that.
I-
But
that-
a video
that
of
was
Joe
a-
Biden that you
That was a kangaroo court, though. It
was a kangaroo court.
Mr. Trump had no shot at all in any of that. He never did going in. Everybody
What
knew
about
that.
bragging about sexual assault on audio and video, grabbing them by the genitals? Is that just locker room talk? Or you would never talk like that, and you would never want somebody talking like that about a member of your family?
No, man, come on, dude.
So why would you support somebody that talks like that?
Well, because he was president for 4 years, and I saw the results. I know what my bank account was. I know what the border was like. I know that we had peace. I know Ukraine wasn't at war under Mr. Trump.
So you think
It wouldn't. Russia wouldn't have invaded Ukraine if Mr. Trump was president. I tell you that.
so you think Vladimir Putin is afraid of Donald Trump?
I didn't say afraid. I think he respects him enough to where Trump's unpredictable. He has no idea what he's going to do.
Donald Trump, the guy that sent Vladimir Putin test kits during COVID. You have a problem with that?
Well, Russia invaded Georgia under Obama. Russia invaded Ukraine under Biden. Russia didn't do jack under Mr. Trump. That's his factual information.
I wouldn't characterize as Russia didn't do jack. What I would say is, again,
And what did Obama they send over? He sent over blankets. Remember that when they invaded? Really?
I don't
Thanks
remember
for
that.
support, Mr. President.
I don't remember that, but
Okay, you can look it up.
what I do remember is a global pandemic created by China under the Trump administration. So if you want to blame Joe Biden for the war in the
Well,
Ukraine,
more people died.
okay,
Biden
but hold on a
COVID.
second.
That's
Hear me
factual.
out on this. If you want to blame Joe Biden for the war in the Ukraine, which I would not characterize that as evidence, but if you want to blame him for all the issues we have throughout the world under his presidency, why
You think
wouldn't
it's just a coincidence that
What-
Russia didn't invade anybody under Trump?
do you
Just a
think
coincidence?
do you think it's a coincidence that maybe we had the biggest global pandemic we've had in our lifetime under Donald Trump? Is that a coincidence?
Well, no one would have predicted the global pandemic. I mean, China was doing bad stuff. They
Happened
still
to-
are.
But I thought Donald Trump was really tough on China. If he was
Well, he
really tough
was.
on, then why would they create a global pandemic that would kill millions of our own people and so many across the
I
world?
don't want. They're a communist country, so I don't.
So
want
is Russia.
comment on
Isn't
that.
Russia a communist country
They
too?
are a communist
Okay,
country.
okay.
I just think there's a
So
reason
why
why
can't-
they didn't do anything under Mr. Trump, and I think it's obvious.
So
that
if
they
Russia
did
invades
something-
Ukraine, it's not because they're a communist country. But if China creates a global pandemic under Trump, It's because they're a communist
Why
country.
didn't Russia invade Ukraine under Mr. Trump?
Well, you're claiming it's because Donald Trump was president,
Correct.
and there's no evidence to prove that. Donald Trump.
Yeah, there is evidence because he didn't do it.
Well, Donald Trump says he can pick up.
I mean, I don't know how much more evidence you need.
I mean,
they're
Donald
at war right now. Look at the Middle East right now. The Abrams Accord was working.
So you think Hamas said, "Hey, we're not going to kill a bunch of Jewish people because Donald Trump is president"?
I think when Mr. Trump gets in there, this war will stop. I think both of them will stop.
Under Donald Trump, we still had a lot of issues in the Middle East. Jared Kushner didn't do anything. Changing the embassy location did nothing.
No, it did. Of course it did.
I think a lot of people could say it caused more tensions in the Middle East.
Well,
if you ask a lot of people in that region, they would say what Jared Kushner did hurt conflicts in the Middle East. It didn't help by changing where the embassy
every
is.
day, though. So I mean, that's always.
Well, we'll agree to distree on that. I don't.
Brian, I thought we were going to talk about my artwork.
Yes, we are going to do that.
Okay.
All right, here's what I want to do, Keith.
By the way, Brian, you are cool, dude. You understand? I mean, you are a good dude, man.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and you're a stand-up guy for having this
No,
conversation.
man, we're having a
Here's
good
what I
talk.
want to do.
Yes,
People
sir.
have the right to call in and ask
course.
about your artwork.
Oh, I appreciate
Or
it.
ask you questions. I know there's a lot of people that are going to want to talk to you. We covered a lot of stuff.
We
man.
did. We could.
And let me preface this again by saying you are a hell of an artist. I looked at your artwork, and regardless of whether what we disagree on politics, you are really talented. And I looked up a lot of the pictures that you sent me, and I also want to, before I take calls and take a break, I want to give people the opportunity to go to your website, which is WhiteHouseSwag.com. Again, that's WhiteHouseSwag.com. Now, if you're a Biden supporter or a Harris supporter, you might not like some of the artwork. But regardless, you are very talented at what you do, and nobody can take that away from you, or your service,
And
or your
Brian,
service.
by the way, also, we all make our supper somehow, and you're very good at your job as well.
Oh, well,
you
that's
were
nice of you to
very
say.
fair. You were very cool.
I
mean, it's
appreciate
like-
you saying that. Thank
like
you.
you and I could hang out
Well,
one day.
I treat people the way
Yep.
they treat me, and you've treated me with respect. I want to treat you with respect, even though we can get into a heated political debate.
1000%.
And I appreciate you saying that as well. All right,
sir.
so Keith, here's what I want to do.
Yes, sir.
I want to take a quick break.
Sure.
You're nice enough to stick around for another
Yeah,
segment.
yeah,
I know you
sure.
got to pick up your daughter from school, which I will make sure you're not late for that. I'll
On
make
my
sure,
wedding
I'll
anniversary.
make a joke for you, okay? I'll make sure Joe Biden's not around when you're picking up your daughter, okay? I'll make a joke that you'll probably like there. Some levity in the conversation. All right, number to call, 702-221-7283. Your chance to talk with Keith Tomzik. He was Donald Trump's official artist in the 2020 presidential campaign. Regardless of what you think about Donald Trump, I think that's pretty cool. And he's willing to stick around and take your calls, which is really nice of him. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to take a quick 2-minute break. Keith is going to stick around for another segment, nice enough to do so. And we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this. You are listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Oh, cool.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
In these uncertain times, we need a leader who puts policy over politics.
I'm Ron Quince. I am beyond the bickering and what we see today. I am running to fight for your values, faith, family, and freedom.
Ron Quince stands for safe borders, lower taxes, and lower prices.
Let's take our country back, one community, one vote at a time. I am Ron Quince, and I'm asking for your vote because every vote matters. I am Ron Quince, and I approve this message.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
I'm Shelley Berkeley, and I approve this message.
Shelley Berkeley, a proud Las Vegan who shatters barriers, becoming the first in her family to attend college, and served as UNLV's student body president, serving in the Nevada legislature, the University Board of Regents, and 7 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives. Shelley excelled as the senior VP of the Toro University system. Shelley Berkeley, a dedicated mother and family woman. Shelley has the experience we need as our next mayor. Shelley gets things done.
Paid for by Shelley Berkeley for mayor.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Kelb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yousafzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Kelb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. Programming note for you. Shelley Berkeley is going to be joining us in studio on Monday, along with some other very special guests. Seth MacFarlane, we're supposed to be getting him next week as well.
Oh, wow.
So that should be fun. And if you're just joining us, we got Keith Tomzik in studio. He's was the official artist for President Trump during the 2020 presidential campaign. I want to remind everybody to check out my website, pushingthelimits.live. And, of course, the official gaming bar of the PTL radio show, Jackson's Bar and Grill. Keith, have you ever been to Jackson's Bar and Grill? It's a legendary bar.
I stopped drinking, so I don't go to bars really anymore.
Understood. Yeah. But anyway, Jackson's has some pretty cool promotions, including the Pass the Puck contest during Vegas Golden Knights games.
Oh, sounds good.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Get $50 in free slot play if you earn 350 points on any given Sunday in the next month or so. I can't believe we're in November already, man. Time flies.
Crazy.
A couple days before the elections. All right, so Keith is nice enough to stick around and take some phone calls. Be nice, ladies and gentlemen. You can have a good conversation and be nice, whether you're a MAGA supporter or not. I tell MAGA supporters to be nice to me, but it doesn't always work out that way, and then I'm nasty to them. Anyway, Keith's been listening to me for years, he's told me, so he knows I get into it with callers sometimes. All right, let's get right into it. What do you say, Keith? 702-221-7283. Let's go to Jessica. Jessica is first up on PTL. Hey, Jessica, you're on with Keith. Go right ahead.
Hi, yeah, I've been watching for a little while now. I actually live in Nebraska, is where I live at. I'm actually a Democrat. I live in the central part of the state out here, so I'm a rarity out this way. But no, I was calling in. I get, and I know you said to be nice, and I'm going to be nice. But, honestly, I think that you need to take that Dodgers jersey off, because that is an all-American sport that was created here in the States, and you people do not represent patriotism at all.
Well, tell him why.
That any of you are patriots.
So tell Keith why.
Because you support a dictator. You support somebody who wants to take freedoms away from people, freedoms away from women. I live in one of the states where they are trying very much so to take abortion and access to things away from women. And I'm pissed about it. I'm done having children, but, I do have a daughter-in-law and things like that. I have sisters still and stuff.
Well, let's ask Keith about that.
Complications.
Let's ask Keith about that statement, Jessica. Taking women's rights away, abortion. Keith, what are your thoughts on what Jessica has said?
Oh man, this topic is just.
But it's important, though. Keith.
I understand.
It's important.
I don't want to get too much into it. I'll just say, he sent it back to the states.
Right, but the reason why it was sent to the states to begin with, and the reason why 20 states. Abortion is illegal in some of those states, no exceptions for rape or incest, is because of Donald Trump, because of the Supreme Court justices.
I wouldn't say it's because of
because of the Supreme Court justices that he put in place, and Donald Trump still brags about it, and he says he's proud of the fact that Roe versus Wade was overturned. He said that on the record. Do you agree with that? Let me ask you that. I don't even know what your position is on this. You have a 9-year-old daughter?
That's correct. Yeah, I don't want to tell anybody what to do with their body. It's their decision, and I'll leave it at that.
And we agree on that.
I'm an artist. I don't want to get in. It's such a.
But it's the number 2
nuclear.
Okay, but I'm going to tell you, Keith. If he does lose Tuesday, I think this is going to be the main reason why.
I disagree. The economy and border are the top 2. Things
Most of the polls across the country, the economy is number 1,
and Trump is crushing her.
Well, I haven't seen that statistic, but abortion is usually number 2, at the worst number 3 on everyone's list. There's a lot of women in this country that are very concerned about this.
It's out of my pay grade. I don't want to tell anybody what to do with their body.
And we agree on that.
That's it.
And we agree on that.
I'll leave
Keith.
it at
But
that.
can you imagine?
I have my faith that I believe in, and
I would never take that away from you. If you want to have 100 beautiful kids with your wife, I would. They'll probably be great artists. Go right ahead and do that. But why is it? And I'm not talking about you now, because I think we agree on this issue, and I think most Americans do. But why is it you think that the evangelical far right want to take that right away? They want to tell every woman what to do with their body.
I don't want to speak for anybody else. I just know my beliefs on it, and I'm not
okay. Well, we agree on that. It sounds like you disagree a little bit with a lot of.
I hope
Republicans.
Jessica has a great day, and I've been a Dodger fan for 50 of my 52 years, and I'm going to keep being a Dodger fan.
You can be a Dodger fan, but I think what she was referring to, I think you know what she was saying was the freedoms of women, and it sounds like you're actually on her side on this issue.
I'm on nobody's side. I just my side and my family.
Well,
side.
you said it yourself. You don't want to tell other women what to do with their bodies.
I didn't say anybody.
Anybody. I agree with you. I agree with you.
It's not my.
Keith, I agree with you. And I think most Americans feel the way you feel and the way I feel. All I'm saying is when you look at the extreme right, okay, they call people who are gay sinners. They're against gay marriage. They want to tell a woman what to do with her own body. And I just think that it hurts. It's going to hurt Donald Trump in the election. That's what I think. But we'll wait and see.
We'll see.
We'll see. You're right. We will see. That's why we have elections.
Yes,
all right.
yes,
let's go to Daryl. Daryl is next up on PTL. Hi, Daryl. You're on with Keith. Go right ahead.
He is bald, but he doesn't have to wear a hat to cover his hair. He embraces his baldness.
Okay, well, someone's on your side. They're saying you embrace your baldness.
You know why? Because I'm from Vegas. We just had the hottest summer on record here of my life. I love being bald in Vegas.
So I shave my head on occasion. My hat is my signature. I've been wearing it since I was 15 years old.
I've seen you with it.
But I'm going to bring up something funny here. Donald Trump's hair. He does have 4 hair transplants, Keith. Come on, man. Come on, man. Hair transplants. Come on, Keith.
Well, let me tell you
Give me
something
that
right
at least.
now.
Come on.
When I first started, I had to study him for hours to really get his likeness down and stuff. His hair was such a, it took me a while. Yeah, it's like, his hair was like, it's 4 different pieces. His hair's got 4 different things going on.
Yeah,
so
it is a little strange. It is a little. What do you make about the orange makeup he puts on every day?
I don't comment on any of that. I try to make him look as good as I could.
Did you see the sculpture that they had here in Vegas of him? It was like 80 feet tall. Did you hear about that? It was like a naked sculpture that they brought to Las Vegas.
Yeah, that was.
What'd you make about that?
I was pretty disgusted by it.
You didn't like it?
No, I just some of that stuff I just don't. I mean, you got to remember, I'm a conservative. I'm an artist, so 99% of the people I deal with are mainly liberal. So.
Most artists are not Republicans.
No, they're not. Trust me.
We do agree on that.
I've taken
I'm looking at pictures of that. I was just looking at pictures of that sculpture now. All right, let's get back to the calls. It's not, it doesn't make him look good. But then again, when I see him with his girdle and his, okay, we won't get into that, Keith. That's 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Susan. Susan is next on PTL. Hi, Susan. You're on with Keith. Go right ahead.
Hi. So I'm actually a disabled veteran and
thank you for your service.
Woman.
Thank you for your service.
And no worries. My only concern is why people who have served think it's okay to fight for these rights and then allow people to then take them away.
That's a good question.
I'm not sure. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Why don't we that's a really good question. Hang on the line. Let's let Keith respond to that. Go ahead, Keith.
Ma'am, I apologize. Again, I don't want to pretend to be something that I'm not. I have no idea. I wouldn't even know how to answer that question. Again, it goes back to my beliefs, and you served, I served, my brother's still serving. We follow orders, pretty much do what we're told.
Yeah.
Do we question some of them? Of course, we're human, but we still got to do our job. You got to do your job.
Mm-hmm.
As far as we defend the Constitution, we defend the Declaration of Independence, the way I see it, and the rest of that, I'm not sure.
Go ahead, ma'am. We'll let you have the last word there. Go ahead, Susan.
Well, so I'm also wondering, you mentioned that you had children. Do you by any chance have a daughter?
I do have a daughter. She's 9 years old. Her name's Reagan.
Okay. So how would you feel if she does not have any bodily autonomy if anything bad were to happen to her? Because that's pretty much outlined in Project 2025, which is what Trump is running off of.
I disagree, ma'am. Mr. Trump
is Project 47. Is that what you want to call it? I mean, it's a different name, but he's mentioned it over 300 times. So
he did disavow, but he also has a lot of people around him that have he's hired that have actually put Project 2025
like who,
in place.
though? Because this circle is really small.
Well, and we're bringing it to the States, but there are women dying now.
That's true. There was
without having that care.
There was a teenager that just died in Texas. I don't know if you heard that. It's a
horrible,
tragic story.
Sad story. Very, very sad.
So how is that making for a better America if you vote for Trump?
Again, ma'am, that's a topic I don't like to get too much into. And again, you have your beliefs, I have my beliefs, and again, I apologize.
I think
for not
that's the
giving you a
key.
good enough answer.
I think, Keith, you just said the key, which I think we will agree on.
And I respect you,
You
ma'am.
have, so Keith, listen to what you just said, because I agree with you. You have your beliefs. I have my beliefs.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
The separation between church and state.
Correct.
And we agree on this issue, but I would never tell people what to do with their bodies. By the way, even when it came to the vaccines, I have never said that they should have been mandated. But you can't have it both ways. And I'm not talking about you now. I'm talking about Donald Trump, and I'm talking about many MAGA Republicans that are okay with telling a woman what to do with their own bodies. And he says, well, we'll just leave it to the states. Roe versus Wade was overturned. It was law that's been in place for 50 years. I think we've ad nauseum talked about this issue, and I think we kind of agree, even though you might be against abortion, you don't want to tell other people what to do with their bodies. And I respect that opinion, but I don't think enough Americans think that way. And
I think you'd be surprised. I think a lot of people do.
And that's why he's losing on this issue. Because
every Republican, though, is going to lose on that issue, though, Brian. Every Republican has for,
well, then
as long as he's been alive.
Maybe he shouldn't have put Supreme Court justices in place that are conservatives that overturned Roe versus Wade. That was his fault then, wasn't it? We have nobody to blame but him. He's the one who allowed this to happen.
I happen to like the justices he put on the Supreme Court.
Well, they overturned Roe versus Wade.
They did.
Yeah.
That's fine.
All right. Well, let's continue the conversation. Thank you for the call, and thank you for your service, dear. 702-221-7283. Who are we going to next? So to Mark. Mark is next up on PTL. Hey, Mark, what's going on? You're on with Keith. Go right ahead.
Yes. I am a former U.S. Army combat medic. I was deployed in Iraq and Kuwait. No, don't thank me. I always don't thank me for my service, because I don't respect anything you stand for.
Okay.
And when you stand with a guy that denounces the military and mocks the military and goes in Area 60 in Arlington National Cemetery and takes photo ops, and the Gold Star family did not know, with a statement stating that we didn't know they were going to take pictures. And if you think that a majority of the veterans in this country is standing with Trump, you are sorely mistaken, because number one, the VFW came out with a letter along with the U.S. Army. The U.S. Army came out. Very rarely does the VFW respond to a presidential candidate.
Mark, let me ask him about that. Mark, hang on. Let me ask Keith about this. Since you brought up Arlington Cemetery, what were your thoughts on that? On that
I have no problem with it at all. He was there. Where was Joe Biden at? Joe Biden never even showed up.
Well, hold on a second. Joe Biden. Well, Donald Trump.
He's the president. He never showed up.
So you care about people showing up, right? Is that a fair assessment?
Well, the families loved having Mr. Trump there.
Over 60 people died in Afghanistan, soldiers, American soldiers under Donald Trump. Do you know how many of those funerals he went to? Since you care about people showing up. Zero.
I have no idea.
Zero.
Okay.
And the issue that I had, and you can tell me whether you disagree, Keith, is that he didn't have permission to take pictures in that area of Arlington Cemetery. Clearly, those were the rules.
Well, the families did come out and thank him.
The family, this is important distinction. You're right. The family who took pictures with him, but the family doesn't get to decide whether you can break rules at Arlington Cemetery or not. That's number one. Number two, some other families that were standing on that brave soldier's gravesite had a problem with him being there. The problem I have is there are rules.
People were happy he was there, though, because Biden didn't show up.
Well,
so we can disagree on that.
You can say Biden didn't show up, but again,
he was the sitting president, didn't show up. He was on the beach 40% of his time in office.
Okay, he wasn't on the beach 40% of his time in office. I don't know where you got
He
that
was on
stat
vacation
from.
40%.
And I can also tell you Donald Trump was the guy who was mocking Barack Obama for playing too much golf. And actually, Donald Trump played more golf than in 4 years than Barack Obama did in 8. So if we're going to talk about vacation,
I don't know that stat, but I'll have to look that up.
Okay, well, you can look that up.
And by the way, I apologize. And Mark, I'm sorry, man. You were so angry with me. I hope you have a great day. I didn't mean to.
These are very passionate and
start anything with you, but I thank you for your service, and I appreciate you talking.
Yes,
but,
we thank everybody for their service. Absolutely.
But Mark, I will tell you again, though.
Yeah.
Well, after all the ballots are cast, and I hope you're still listening, I will guarantee. I'm in Vegas. I will bet any amount of money you want. I will go to the window. Mr. Trump will get more of the military vote than Harris will. 1,000%.
Well, I can tell you 1,000%. I don't know if that's going to happen.
It'll come out. I guarantee.
Why does he get less than 50% of the minority in the black vote? You think?
Because he's Republican. No Republican ever gets a high percentage.
Why though? Why do you think that?
I don't know. I mean, there's
Do you agree with J.D. Vance when he said, and by the way, I don't even know what this means. Maybe you could help me understand, get inside the mind of J.D. Vance, the normal gay vote, as opposed to the abnormal gay vote. I don't know what J.D. Vance is saying. And I think J.D. Vance has not done Donald Trump any favors. That's my personal opinion. But you think he's going to get the, quote, normal gay vote? I don't even know what that means, by the way.
Again, Brian, I didn't hear
That's what he said.
Yeah, I didn't hear the quote. I have no idea about but
I know you don't speak for J.D. Vance.
I'm a big fan of Mr. Vance. I think he's been a major asset for Mr. Trump. I think he's going to help put us over.
All right, well, we'll agree to disagree on that one.
I mean,
childless cat lady comments. By the way, how do you feel about working? Would you work for somebody that at one point you think is the next American Adolf Hitler? Because those are the comments that J.D. Vance made several years ago. He called Donald Trump possibly possibly the next American Adolf Hitler is the direct quote that he made.
Well, as many times I've been called a Nazi just for being a Trump supporter.
Okay, well, I wouldn't call you that.
Anytime someone invokes Hitler, the discussion's over. You lose, the way I see it. My grandfather.
So why would he say that?
My grandfather was actually in a camp. I'm from Polish descent. And I'm not saying I'm laughing about it, but when I was a little kid, small child, I remember he showed me his numbers on his arm, and I was like, "What is that?" I thought it was his tattoo.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No,
but Keith, hear me out on this, right?
Go ahead.
That's Donald Trump's vice presidential nominee. He called, this wasn't even 20 years ago or 10 years ago, several years ago, he said Donald Trump is, quote, possibly the next American Adolf Hitler. How do you respond to that? I mean, those are his words.
How do you have a running mate with stolen valor who completely lied about his military career?
So I would say that's whataboutism, and you're not answering
No, it's not
my
whataboutism.
Well, it is, because I'm asking you specifically about J.D. Vance's comments about Donald Trump.
If Mark is still listening and Jessica's still listening, they know he lied about his rank. He know he lied about where he served. He lied about him being in war. They know he got a DUI and said he was deaf, which is hilarious. It's like, really, dude?
Well, the question was about J.D. Vance.
The guy's a buffoon. But if you're talking about J.D. Vance, I mean, look
so the guy who served 21 years is a buffoon because
he's a buffoon
because he claimed he misspoke.
No, he lied, Brian.
Well, he said
he exactly what his rank was.
So he was talking about weapons of war, something that Republicans
don't want to talk about. He said he carried it in war. He lied.
He was talking about weapons of war.
He lied about his rank, which you can never do.
So you care about
stole
lying.
valor.
You care about people who lie.
I care about stolen valor.
You care
for
about
people who actually served. Because you have people with boots on the ground right now.
He retired from,
he lied about
retired from the military before he knew that he was going to Iraq. That's number one.
Chickened out. He chickened out.
He chickened out.
Yeah, he knew they were getting deployed, and he chickened out.
Okay, but Donald Trump didn't dodge the military, though. He didn't chicken out. But Tim Walz, who served for 21 years, chickened out. But Donald Trump, who dodged the military multiple times, even though you claim you don't think he did, he didn't chicken out.
Brian,
he claimed bone spurs.
I apologize because, and again, I respect everybody, but you didn't serve.
I did not.
He stole valor.
I also didn't dodge anything either.
No, but he stole valor from other troops who are still fighting right now.
Okay,
that's basically what it is.
Okay, well,
it's an insult.
That's been debunked. That hasn't been proven.
It is proven.
His
actual paperwork said his rank, and then they have what he said on camera, what his rank was. He lied about his rank.
And all of a sudden, you care about lying.
I care about stolen valor.
But you don't care about lying.
Of course I care about lying. I'm just saying, we know what Walz did.
Is Donald Trump a liar, or is he a pretty honest guy, or what would you characterize?
I can only go by when I dealt with the campaign. He was amazing.
Well, maybe the way he dealt with you. I'm not going to deny that, but
you said it yourself.
Think he's an honest guy? Or?
Well, you go by how people treat you, right?
Yeah. So Donald Trump treats women, attacking their looks.
You're going full circle from J.D. Vance back to that.
Well, I mean, I treat people the way they treat me in personal interaction with them, but I also go by the way they treat others as well. I think that's important. Anyway, let's get back to the call.
Okay.
Getting off track. 702-221. Who do we have next here? Ina. Ina is next on PTL. Hi, Ina. You're on with Keith. Go right ahead.
Hi, it's Ina.
Ina, I'm sorry.
No problem. I've been called worse. I'm calling from Canada, New Brunswick.
Gotcha.
And I just wanted to know what Mr. there knows about NATO.
I'm not an expert, and I'm not going to pretend to be. But
okay.
I think they need to pay their fair share. Mr. Trump was having them do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you know why NATO was brought in?
The origins of exactly? I do not, ma'am. I mean,
Hitler.
when I was in college, I remember reading up on it. It's been a while, but I don't want to make a false statement or pretend I know all the ins and outs of it. I just, that's how I feel.
It was brought about because of Hitler, to protect countries. 32 countries.
And not everybody was paying, though. Not everybody was paying. We were protecting everybody. I personally was tired of being the world's policeman and trying to help everybody out. If we want to help them, they have to pay their fair share. The Democrats say it every day, right? Pay your fair share of taxes, right? They say it every
So
day.
does
Pay your fair
Canada.
share in taxes. How about NATO pay their fair share? That's all we're trying to look out there, and I think that makes common sense. They want us to be part of it.
Okay, here's another honest question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think Putin called all 32 countries in NATO and said, hey, I'm attacking Ukraine?
I don't want to get into the mind of that maniac.
Well, come on. The answer would be no, though. That's an easy one.
Again,
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But
yeah,
you're saying Biden and Harris were weak? I've heard that from Americans, that they were weak over Putin.
Yeah.
They have nothing to do with it. They can't go in at all.
And we don't want to put our own troops on the ground there. I appreciate your call.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
I think that's a really good point. I appreciate your call. Let's go to Stephanie.
Thank you.
Stephanie is next up on PTL. Hey, Stephanie, what's going on?
Hi, hi Keith and Brian. Keith, I wanted to thank you for your service, and I also wanted to clarify some things that you aren't quite informed about. The Veterans Access to Care Through Choice Accountability and Transparency Act was signed in 2014 under Obama. Now, a bill doesn't get enacted right away, so it takes time. Under the Trump administration, the bill went into action, right?
Correct. Keith, you agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I just know,
Okay,
ma'am, I can
so-
only go off by what the VA was under Obama and what the VA was under Mr. Trump. I mean,
But I think what she's
Correct,
saying
but
is
that
that
bill, they worked very hard to get that bill done.
Right.
That bill was signed in 2014. Bills don't go into action right away. So Donald Trump gets to take credit for a bill that actually became enacted under his administration.
That's true.
He tried to take money from the veterans associations. He couldn't understand why we spent so much money on it. That was a big issue with him. And also, he added $3.6 trillion to our national debt in the first part of his presidency. That's
because
before
of
COVID.
COVID. No, COVID added a lot
No,
of debt.
pre-COVID.
The combined was $8.2 trillion. Actually.
Have you seen what the debt is now under Mr. Biden?
Nowhere near
Mr.
where.
Biden has done 4.2%
Okay, now
trillion.
you're just throwing numbers out
And
there. But we can
hold
disagree
on,
that.
let me finish. I can please. 2.1 trillion was enacted under COVID under the Biden administration, and 2.3 was put towards the veterans care for the PACT Act. That's where the money went under the Biden's debt.
It is important to
And the
note.
remaining-
It is important to note that Donald Trump put us $8.2 trillion in debt in 4 years. Partially, yes, because
Yes,
of
I was
COVID.
gonna finish
Not partially,
that.
I would say mostly.
Yes.
We can disagree.
3.6 trillion of that was enacted prior to COVID.
Correct.
The remaining was due to the tariff war in China.
Right.
That-
Don't even
that
get me
he
started with
created.
tariffs. Don't get me started with
Right.
the tariff
But
conversation.
he-
oh,
Right.
as my grandmother
But
used to
he
say,
is
"Oy
the
vez
one who
mia."
destroyed the soy farmers, right? Like, he put soy farmers out of business because China refused to buy our soy.
Right.
Ma'am,
They're the biggest
actual
purchaser.
take home pay under Mr. Trump was 8% higher than is Mr. Biden. Is 1% under Biden take home pay. Our wallets were bigger under Mr. Trump. Our bank account was bigger under Mr. Trump.
For the top 1%, absolutely.
No,
He-
that's not accurate.
He
at
gave
all.
he gave the biggest tax breaks for the top 1% in 3 decades.
Okay, that's fine, but the middle
Kamala
class
Harris
did
wants
better.
to put down the tax breaks at. I would respectfully disagree with you. 28%. She wants to tax
so
people
we're
under.
going to elect Kamala Harris to fix the stuff that she screwed up.
What did she screw up?
Wasn't she bragging about casting the vote on the Inflation Reduction Act or the Green New Deal that caused the inflation?
Inflation's under 3%.
What it was 9% a year ago.
It's under 3% now.
Yeah, I know, but the average American family paid over $30,000 out of their own pocket over the last 4 years. They never would have paid on it.
We were coming out of a global pandemic.
So how long are you guys going to use that for a blanket statement? Going to hide
We're
behind
under
COVID?
3% now. I'm not using it at all.
Oh, yeah,
we're
but-
doing better than all the other G7 countries around the world. Our NASDAQ is through the roof. Manufacturing jobs through the roof. The lowest unemployment we've had in 50 years.
And that's great. Have you been to a grocery store today?
What does that have to do with what I just said?
I'm just saying.
Inflation's under 3%.
Groceries were a lot cheaper under Mr. Trump than they were
Because
under Mr. Biden.
Because we had a global pandemic.
Okay,
and we have a
back to
war in the
pandemic
Ukraine.
again. And we have a war in the Ukraine.
Wait,
Okay.
so you don't think the pandemic has anything to do with inflation? Is that what you're saying?
Well, she cast the break vote, right? That caused the inflation. She brags about it. And what did she say? Bidenomics is working.
It is. We're under
It's not
3%.
working. People are in debt. Do you not get that? People had no money. They ran out their own personal debt under Biden.
And Joe Biden is the guy. That's not factually accurate.
is
but Joe
factually
Biden, if you
accurate.
care about debt, Joe Biden had student loan debt forgiveness, which MAGA Republicans seem to be against.
Yeah, because you know why? I used a GI Bill. It works. Use the GI Bill. You want to go to college? Go serve your country.
So you're angry that people are in debt, but you don't want Joe Biden using student debt forgiveness to help Americans that are in debt.
Get angry.
You don't want to raise minimum wage?
Well, no. Why should I have to pay for someone else's student loan debt when I went and served my country and used a GI Bill to get me through college?
I disagree with your assessment of that because
that's factual.
Because I had to suffer, everybody else should have to suffer too. I don't think is a legitimate excuse for helping people that are struggling in this country right now. But let's take some more phone calls. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Lou. Lou is next up on PD. We'll do like 10 more minutes. Is that okay, Keith?
That's fine, bro.
All right, thanks. Keith's a good sport. He's getting roughed up here. It'd be nice if a MAGA caller could give me some crap, but he's being a good sport about it. All right, let's go to Lou. Lou, what's going on, man? You're on with Keith. Go right ahead.
Hey, Brian, great show.
Thank you.
Keith, thanks for taking my questions. I didn't talk about baseball. I didn't call to talk about baseball, but go Giants, lifelong Giants fan. Anyway, I didn't call to talk about Waltz, but Waltz, he could have retired, but he re-upped after 9/11.
Right, correct.
So that's a fact there.
Correct. He didn't retire.
But he knew he was going to get deployed, though, and he stepped out. He knew he was going to get deployed. Well, he did re-up after 9/11. He could have retired prior 9/11. Yeah, but he lied. He stole valor, man. He lied about his rank. He lied about where he served. It's just it's a spit in the face. It's disgusting.
Donald Trump lying about bone spurs, is that a spit in the face?
Well, no.
Right.
Mr.
Okay,
Trump
I have a quick
serve.
question.
He actually served, though. There's a difference.
I agree. One is a hero and one is a coward.
Well,
I agree.
No, just because you
there is a
serve
difference
doesn't make you a hero. We have bad people.
I think if you dodge the military, that makes you a coward.
Yeah, but we don't know that he dodged.
According to the doctor that wrote the note, his family members have all said that has happened. So I put some. Listen, I want to see his medical records. Won't release them.
He doesn't have to, though. I mean,
I never said he had to.
Yeah.
Why won't he?
I don't know.
He mocks Kamala Harris for having seasonal allergies. By the way, she released her medical records. He went to Walter Reed, I think, in 2018 or 2019. Sure. We have no idea what happened. We don't know if he had a stroke. We know nothing. I disagree, though.
He seems fine to me. So
I think, well, he doesn't seem fine to me, both mentally or physically. And I think the American people deserve to know what his medical records are.
He could stand up there and talk for 3 hours straight without a teleprompter. I've seen
3 hours babbling about sharks and Hannibal Lecter and calling people ugly and calling people stupid.
Can I ask one quick question?
Oh, go ahead, sir.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No problem. Hey, 2019, Iranian forces bombed a small U.S. military base on the Syrian border. Many soldiers had brain injuries, but Trump said they had headaches. What do you think about that statement?
That's a good question, Keith.
Sir, again, I apologize. I don't know that story, and
so there were
dozens
of soldiers that got traumatic brain injury. And they've said on the record they have TBI. There's medical records of that.
Sure.
And Donald Trump has characterized them as minor headaches. I just think that is crapping on our military once again, but he has a history of that. And that gentleman who just called in is right. And I actually forgot about that. All right, you don't want to comment on that? That's okay.
No, I would say there was no greater support of the military than Mr. Trump. 1,000%.
Okay, but if military members under his watch get traumatic brain injury, he characterized it as minor headaches.
I am scared to death if she becomes the president of the United States. There's no way she's going to be able to handle Putin. I think Taiwan's in serious trouble if she becomes president. That's my own personal opinion.
Okay. I don't think handling Putin is writing love letters to evil, murderous dictators and sending COVID tests in the middle of COVID to evil, murderous dictators and siding with evil, murderous dictators over our own CIA or FBI. I don't think that shows strength. I think that shows weakness, and Kamala Harris has talked about
Putin
that.
Never attacked anybody under Mr. Trump.
Again, you keep using that, but
because it's factual.
There's no evidence. And by the way,
there is evidence. He didn't do it. How much more evidence do you need?
So you're making the case because something doesn't happen.
But then it did happen under Mr. Biden.
It must have happened because Joe Biden was president.
Yes.
And
there's
again,
a perceived weakness with him.
And again, when we talk about COVID, that's not Donald Trump's fault because he's so tough on China. But yet, when we talk about
more people died under COVID under Mr. Biden.
And again, there are reasons for that. Because he left office. We were losing 3,000 to 5,000 people a day. The mess that he left Joe Biden.
He got 3 vaccines. Is that a mess?
What do you mean he got? What is that?
I mean, Mr. Trump gave him 3 vaccines, and more people still died.
You're talking about. So you're talking about
factual.
You're talking about Operation Warp Speed, which so many MAGA Republicans want to give Donald Trump credit for. Yet so many MAGA Republicans are anti-vaccine. I don't think you could have it both ways. But let's go to Lauren. Lauren is next up on PTL. Hello, Lauren.
Hi. Keith, thank you for your service.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I really don't have any, the point I wanted to bring out is there is nothing in the Constitution about church and state.
I
which
didn't
is
say
something that
I didn't say there was. I never said there was something in the Constitution that said separation between church and state. My personal opinion is you should separate your religion when it comes to policy. I think it's absurd.
Well, I think it is.
It is? So all these right-wing evangelicals out there and all these MAGA Republicans out
Well,
there
you're
that think
talking about a segment of the population.
yeah,
You're
and I
not
am,
talking
and
about
part of
everybody.
that segment, like the Mike Johnsons of the world, think that women that have abortions are murderers, and that is why in 20 states in this country it is illegal to have an abortion, and in some of those states, no exceptions are rape or incest. That's why we should have a separation between church and state. No matter what your religious beliefs are, which I respect, by the way. I'm not poo-pooing on your religion. Keith has his own opinions. I respect that. But you know what Keith said? A really big fundamental agreement that we have. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your body. Leave me alone and my family. I agree with that, and I think Keith agrees with that. Separation between church and state. And I don't care what it says in the Constitution. I don't.
Well, well, why have a constitution? Anyway, as far as what you brought up, a woman's body.
Mm-hmm.
I think that in the state of Nevada, if you get in an accident and the woman is pregnant
mm-hmm.
and you kill the baby,
that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That I mean, well, what is that?
So let me just get this right. You're comparing a woman who's pregnant in a car accident and the baby she is carrying dying to a 13-year-old girl who was molested or raped.
I'm not talking about it.
Well, guess what? I am.
Girl.
I
We're
am.
talking about
I
abortion
am.
in general.
I am.
You want to take it to
I
the
am.
extreme.
And you don't want to talk about
that.
that.
No problem with a child that has been raped having an abortion.
Well, guess
None
what?
whatsoever.
Guess what, Lauren? There are states in this country that do, with right-wing fools, as I would call them, buffoons, who do. And that's why out of those 20 states...
Do you think Ruth Bader Ginsburg was a fool?
I think anybody is a fool.
Do you think that the justice, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, was a fool?
No. Why do you say that? Why do you say that?
Because she felt that the decision that was initially made about abortion back in the 70s should never have taken place.
So you want me to comment? You want me to comment about the decision she made before I was born? I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that, sir. I'm talking about 2024. And because of your opinion, Lauren, with all due respect, that you have no problem with any separation between church and state, there are young girls, and God forbid, there are women in this country that could be raped or the victim of incest, and you seem to have no problem with right-wing, middle-aged white dudes, with all due respect to us, telling women what to do with their body, even if they're the victim of incest or rape. That's why I want a separation between church and state. Have a nice day, Lauren. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Dave. Dave is next up on PTL. What's up, Dave?
Hi. I just got into this conversation about 15 minutes ago.
Oh, I apologize.
And I notice a pattern pretty quickly with the way your guest is responding to hard questions. And I call it deflection. And, I have no opinion on that. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I thank you for your service. And, I got prayers for you. And that's what is so frustrating, is that when you try to have a conversation, you're right out there with it. You don't hide. You bare your soul, and he refuses to. He refuses.
Well, I'll let Keith comment on that.
He sits back so suave and like nothing's going to bother him, and he's going to respond, the hell with you guys and what you think. And I don't have to answer your questions. I'm just going to say, I don't know.
Well, Keith has answered.
How to answer that.
Keith has answered
how about
some.
having an opinion? How about having an opinion instead of I don't know?
Well, let's let Keith respond to that. Go ahead, Keith.
I apologize, sir, if you're only listening for 15 minutes, but I think I've answered quite a bit of the questions Brian's given to me. You may not agree with them, you may not like them, and I'm sorry. I'm also not going to comment on something. I don't have enough information, I have enough data to go through it. Some people talk just to talk to hear their own voice, or they put out fake news on purpose. I'm not going to do that. But I hope you have a great day, and I'm sorry if I upset you.
As a whole, I agree with what you just said. But I'll use it in the case of Donald Trump in this aspect.
Sure.
There's no evidence of widespread voter fraud that could have changed the outcome of the 2020 election. To this day, nobody's come forward with any real evidence to show it. Yet, almost 70% of Republicans think Donald Trump won the 2020 election, and yet they have no problem making the case. He still does to this very day.
Do you think there was any election interference in 2020?
So there's a difference between Oh, yeah, the Russians interfered on social media. That was actually proven. Absolutely. Sure.
Okay.
Sure. I mean, that was proven in a court of law.
Remember about they snuffed out the Hunter laptop thing?
So what's in the Hunter laptop that's so damning?
Well, from what I understand, a lot of his business dealings.
There is no evidence that there are any laws that were broken in that laptop. It's never come forward.
There's quite a money trail there, and
there's no money trail. Nobody says there's
and
nothing.
Jack at Twitter, they snuffed it out. So did Facebook.
But what's in that laptop? That's criminal. There's no evidence.
We
don't
know
understand.
that, and not to mention,
you're right. You don't know that. So why are you bringing it up?
At that particular time, though, they said, was it 12 to 15% of the people said if they'd known about Hunter's laptop, it would have affected the election.
Okay, so first of all, we don't.
That's election interference.
What's in the laptop?
Well, a lot of his dealings. His
You don't
shenanigans he
know
was doing.
that.
Come on.
What do you mean? Come on. You say you don't. With all due respect, you say you don't want to comment
There's
on.
no doubt in my mind, Hunter Biden was making millions through China.
So you don't want to
Ukraine,
comment
wherever.
on certain things if you don't have all the quote data. You just said that, but you have no problem making assumptions
But I'm also
of what's
not
in Hunter
stupid.
Biden's. I didn't say that.
No, I'm not talking to myself.
But
I know you didn't.
But you don't want to make assumptions about because you don't have the data. Which, by the way, I can appreciate you saying that. But then when it comes to Hunter Biden's laptop, you have no idea. Neither do I. What's in Hunter Biden's laptop?
why
What
did
we
Twitter-
do know is he hasn't been charged with anything.
Why did Twitter take it down? By the way, Mr. Trump said
I'll tell you why. That's a good question. Because there were people that were making claims on the far right that he was molesting children and that there were crimes in that laptop that were not true. There's no evidence that he was molesting children or young Asian girls. I heard some crazy crap on social media. That's why Tina Peters is in jail right now, because she did this show and she made claims that were completely unsubstantiated. This whole thing about the Hunter Biden laptop. First of all, nobody knows what's in the laptop, and what we do know is that there's
if
no
nobody
crimes.
knows what's on it, why'd they take it down?
They took it down. I just told you,
I
because
know,
people
but-
were saying things that were not true, that he's a child molester.
Then put it out there. They should have put it out
And not
there.
only that, but it's Joe Biden's son.
And you saw Zuckerberg.
Like, I don't even understand. It's Joe Biden's son.
It was Facebook.
We're talking
too.
about family members now?
I understand, but there again, 12 to 15% of people said if they'd known about the Hunter Biden laptop, it would have
And
affected their vote.
70% of Republicans say that Donald Trump won the 2020 election. I say, Keith, with all due respect, so what? People say things that are not true. Some people think the earth is flat, and some people think the Hunter Biden laptop would have had this huge impact on the election. I
think it
respectfully disagree.
Okay, we can agree to
Yeah, I
disagree on that.
respectfully disagree. All right, we got to sneak in a few more quick calls, then we got to go to break. I got to get you out of here, man. Who are we going to? Let's go to Jeff. Jeff is next up on PTL. Hey, Jeff, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on? I'll be quick. Keith.
Yes, sir.
Keith. Let's just tell it like it is. You don't want to risk losing a paycheck. So what comes across to anybody listening is that you're a hypocrite and you are choosing to be a coward in your selective avoidance and selective ignorance about Trump's horrible behavior, just in case Trump wins. So you saying that is a fact doesn't make it a fact. Facts get in the way of every point you try to make. You have compromised whatever values you have for a paycheck.
Well,
from
let's let
a
Keith
Russian
respond to that.
Asset.
Let's let Keith respond to that. Go ahead, Keith.
Sir, all due respect, I honorably served my country for 6 years. I got honorable discharge on the way out, and I've got other awards I served. And I served in a foreign land. So
Yeah.
use the word coward. I'm sorry, I'm going to disagree with you on that. All right. When it was my time, I went. I enlisted during the Iraq War. So if that makes me a coward, we can disagree on that. As far as a paycheck, I haven't worked for the campaign in 4 years. It was the opportunity of a lifetime. I will always love working for a sitting president. I think he's a great man. Now, if you see it differently, that's fine. I respect your opinion. Hope you can respect mine.
All right. Well, I will end by saying this. I agree in sentiment that while we might disagree on a lot of different issues, besides being a talented artist, I respect, first of all, anybody that serves this country like you did, and I'll say it again.
Yep.
And I do consider you a hero for that. And you're a heck of an artist too. So you're a stand-up guy for coming in here and taking the punches.
Oh, you guys are
which
great.
you knew you would take, but I'd like to do it again with you sometime down the road. And maybe when it's a little less emotional during the elections, maybe at some point down the road. This was fun.
I don't think it was that emotional. I think it was just two guys talking.
We had a good conversation, and I appreciate that. And I'd love to do it again with you sometime. And I hope you and your family have a wonderful election night. I hope you guys don't win. But I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to let you pick your daughter up from school.
Thank you, sir.
for being here. I really do appreciate it.
Thank
and
you.
I want to give out your information again.
Oh, sure.
For anybody that wants to even just check out some of your work.
Yes, sir.
You can check it out at whitehouseswag.com. And I will say this, even though, like I said, me and Keith disagree on a lot of political issues, he is one heck of an artist.
Or you can
man.
go to Keith Pencil on Twitter, too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And thank you for being here. And I'd love to have you in again sometime. And congratulations to your Dodgers, by the way. All right. There you go. Keith Tomzik, everybody, the official artist president of the 2020 presidential campaign. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Nicole Mitchell right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
In these uncertain times, we need a leader who puts policy over politics.
I'm Ron Quince. I am beyond the bickering and what we see today. I am running to fight for your values, faith, family, and freedom.
Ron Quince stands for safe borders, lower taxes, and lower prices.
Let's take our country back, one community, one vote at a time. I am Ron Quince, and I'm asking for your vote because every vote matters. I am Ron Quince, and I approve this message.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
I'm Shelley Berkeley, and I approve this message.
Shelley Berkeley, a proud Las Vegan who shatters barriers, becoming the first in her family to attend college, and served as UNLV's student body president, serving in the Nevada legislature, the University Board of Regents, and 7 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives. Shelley excelled as the senior VP of the Toro University system. Shelley Berkeley, a dedicated mother and family woman. Shelley has the experience we need as our next mayor. Shelley gets things done.
Paid for by Shelley Berkeley for mayor.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. I do thank Keith Tomzik for being here. He took the punches, man. And listen, I have a way of asking MAGA supporters questions where sometimes they don't want to answer. That does happen from time to time. But I do appreciate him being here. And I always like to end Friday off on a good note, right? A positive note. And it's always a pleasure to have the beautiful and talented former pastor, life coach, joining us right now on the show. Nicole, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm so good. Happy Friday. Happy November 1st. How was your Halloween?
Oh, I had a fun time. I'll have to send you some pictures. I had a costume that I can't really talk about on the air, but I will share those pictures with you. And I had a really good time. It was a Beetlejuice party with a personal friend of mine, and he put on a heck of a Halloween party and got some great pictures with a lot of people. How was yours?
It was so good. It was our first time in our neighborhood. A ton of kids came out. I was a fallen angel. It felt appropriate as a former pastor. Got to meet some other mom friends in the neighborhood.
Oh, cool.
So I feel really excited for the connections I made last night.
I love Halloween. A lot of cavities, but I love Halloween.
Did you eat a lot of candy?
I did. And I'm on a little sugar high today. Being a diabetic, it's probably not a good idea.
Oh my God, yes.
But yeah, a lot of cavities. But anyway, thanks for being here, Nicole. And I always love ending the week off with some positive stories. Here's a good one. A $20 bill was found on the ground, and it led to a $1 million win for a North Carolina lottery player. Tell me about this. This is wild.
Isn't this all our dream? You walk and you find money in the ground. We've all found money on the ground. And this man decides to go into a store, buy himself a lottery ticket. He couldn't even buy the kind he usually buys. They were out. So he bought one he's never tried before, and he freaking wins $1 million lottery ticket.
That's incredible. It's almost like a movie, right? You can make a movie out of this. I mean, that's so cool, isn't it? I'm trying to think of that.
I was gonna say it felt so appropriate too, because he's been a carpenter, I think, for like 56 years.
Wow.
And so now he said he can finally retire. And it's just like of all the people to get it, like obviously I don't know anything about him, but just hearing that he's worked that hard, that long,
I
you
love that.
deserve to retire if you've been working for 50, 60 years. And like,
Maybe
what
I'm a bad
incredible
person,
way.
but it's like when I hear of somebody that's already a gazillionaire winning the lottery and they're like 95 years old, I get a little upset. I want somebody, not to say that if you're at that age, you can't enjoy your money, because you should, and that's fine. But you want somebody that really needs it more, I guess you could say. I hope that doesn't make me a bad person, but
Just
that's
don't
how
be
I
mad at
feel.
me when I win the lottery when I'm 95 and a gazillionaire.
Right.
I'll share some of it with you. Just don't be mad. Just don't be mean to me.
Yes. That I'll take you up on that when you win the lottery.
Okay.
Here's another cool one. You know, I feel bad for these 4 astronauts, and I've heard about this story where they were stuck in space for 8 months and they just returned to Earth. Tell me about this.
Okay, so I just happened to watch the documentary on Apollo 13, which apparently I knew nothing about. I had no idea the danger,
good
the
movie.
risk. They did it's such a good like documentary movie. They didn't make it to the moon because the thing exploded, and so then it just became about survival and how do we get them back to Earth, and like they barely made it back to Earth, which is like it's a phenomenal documentary if you get to watch it. Then I learned about this another real life scenario where these 4 astronauts got stranded. They were supposed to be picked up from the International Space Station, but the rocket that was coming for them, there were errors with it and had to be sent back to Earth, and they had to wait to repair and send out a whole other rocket. So they
Wow.
were stranded out there for an additional 8 months.
Yeah.
And my first thought, Brian, is like, do they have enough resources? Do they have enough food? Do they have enough water? Like,
Yeah, I don't understand that. That's really bizarre.
insane.
And I'm claustrophobic, so like that would be my worst nightmare. I don't know how they did it, but we're glad they're safe.
We're
And
so glad.
gosh, that is so scary, man.
It's terrifying.
So
Like, how can your life not flash before your eyes? Like,
Yeah, that gets me nervous and anxious just thinking about that, but I'm glad they're okay. Man, that is brutal. I was reading this other story where this first patient has this brain tumor, and it was removed through her eyebrow. And what's even more crazy is that she was released within 2 days. Tell me about this.
oh my gosh. I read this and I like freaked out in the best way possible because my oldest one of my offspring, one of my kids has a brain cancer, a brain tumor, and they did have to cut into his body and his skull. And when I read about this surgery where this doctor has now learned to go through the eyebrow, it shortens the brain surgery from 8 to 9 hours to about 3 to 4 hours. So you're in it for half the time. The doctors don't get as exhausted, and you have to be very fine detailed. And so the chances of them missing or making a mistake is way reduced. And then the recovery time is freaking fast. Most people are discharged within 2 days. And so the woman they interviewed about it, she's had both. She had the traditional brain surgery where they had to cut open into her skull, try to remove it. It was unsuccessful. She said it took so long for her to recover. It was so painful. And then she found this doctor who specializes through the eyebrow. He got in. It was a successful removal surgery. And she said she was up and about back home in 2 days. And she said the recovery time was night and day difference from her previous one. It's just mind blowing what's possible.
Not only do you get your life is saved, but you're out of the hospital in 2 days. I mean, that.
Yes.
Well, I hope this type of new technique, for lack of a better term, saves a lot of other lives. I'm sure it will.
Yes.
Cancer has touched all of us in one way or another. And I'm really glad to hear that she's recovering well, and hopefully she never has to go back. Let's at least
Exactly.
hope so. Before I let you go, Nicole, what do you got going on this weekend?
This weekend, I'm going to a Halloween party tonight.
Nice.
I've shared some amazing hot Halloween content on my OnlyFans and hanging out with friends. So it'll be a really good.
Why do I
good
never get
weekend.
pictures from you?
I know.
in your
Well,
Halloween?
you have to send me your Halloween pictures, and
All
I
right,
can
fair
send you
enough.
some Halloween pictures.
I have a feeling yours will be more enjoyable to look at than mine. I was wearing a sleeveless shirt. I am a very pasty white, but you'll get a laugh out of it at least.
I
But
can't wait.
that's a deal. I'll send you mine
Deal.
first, and after you vomit, you can send me yours. Okay,
I love you, Brian.
Nicole,
Thank
you're the
you.
best. I'll talk to you soon. Can't wait for those pictures.
Sounds
I'll
good.
talk to
Have
you
a great weekend.
You too, Nicole. Take care. That's Nicole Mitchell, everybody. Former pastor, now life coach. Always great talking with her. All right, folks, we got a couple days left to go here before the elections. I have a big announcement to make. Besides going into syndication, which is going to be happening very soon, I'll give you more information on that as we get it. I'm also going to be doing extra coverage on Election Day and Election Night with Don Lemon. We are going to do an extra 2 hours of the show on Tuesday. Some of that will be live with Don Lemon from New York. So I wanted to share that with all of you. I am collaborating with Don Lemon. We're still trying to figure out all the specifics. Also, check out my website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website, pushingthelimits.live. We are an independently owned radio show. We rely on people like you. If you go to pushingthelimits.live, you can buy merchandise on there, shirts, hats, beanies. If you don't want to buy merchandise, there's a donate button right on the front page, pushingthelimits.live. Please check that out and check out my good friends at Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones, with the Pass the Puck contest and so many other promotions. The more you play, you can earn free bottles of wine and $50 in free slot play on Sundays. The more you play, the more you earn. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Folks, it's going to be a very interesting weekend. I can't wait to join you guys back on Monday. In studio guest Shelley Berkeley is going to be joining us, and there's a person on the local school board here who is bigoted in nature and anti-transgender, anti-gay. Well, her opponent is going to be joining us on the show, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. That's what some of these far-right MAGAs do. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for Justin for all of his help, and we will see you on Monday. Have a great day, everybody.
In these uncertain times, we need a leader who puts policy over politics.
I'm Ron Quince. I am beyond the bickering and what we see today. I am running to fight for your values, faith, family, and freedom.
Ron Quince stands for safe borders, lower taxes, and lower prices.
Let's take our country back, one community, one vote at a time. I am Ron Quince, and I'm asking for your vote because every vote matters. I am Ron Quince, and I approve this message.
Chickadee check. Hey
everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn?
Is
that
TC?
true blue New York style pie? Well,
Where
worry no more.
is